NARI's, National Association of the Remodeling Industry of Greater Charlotte. He was one of the way back early members as pressure washer, and become to know Tom very well. We drank some adult beverages together through the years and sat and talked and told some lies together and stuff, and just hung out. And I've always enjoyed talking to Tom Skinner because he was a lot like Michael here. He was an honest, down to earth, hard working, blue collar kind of guy. Used his brain and common sense and just easy to talk to and hard working and just a downright good guy. And I was visiting Tom one day, and Michael was hanging out with Tom, kind of residing with him a little bit. Hey, and that's great. So, and Tom was that kind of guy too, you know. So I met Michael, and we got to talking, and dang, it's just like Tom. What I call it, and some people call it truth seeker, and meaning he knows what the heck's going on. He uses his brain, and he observes. And he was mentor. Tom was your mentor in the pressure washing business, you know. But before we get to all of that, I do what I do. I don't know a lot about him, so let's found out. Where are you from?
Well, I was originally born and raised in Massachusetts and
What part?
Pittsfield.
Wh-
When I say that to people, they say, "Oh yeah, Boston. I've been up around there. I know where that is, but it's on the other side of the state."
Well, I hear you, and that's one of the things. What type of environment were you raised in? Rural, farm,
A
city?
small city that was born out of a GE, General Electric.
Okay, so it was a General Electric labor camp.
Yes, all 35,000
Now,
of them.
people understand that, but that's truly what it was. There was a lot of that in the South around textile mills that were all, it was the labor housing.
It was the same
Basically,
type of thing. Yeah.
let's face it for what it is.
Mhm.
They supported the manufacturing, which was very very strong in America back in those days. How old are
It
you?
was
I'm gonna just get that one.
66.
You're 66,
Hmm.
born in 66, 68,
58.
58,
Yeah.
58. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not, my math all messed up,
Yeah. You
obviously.
get older, there's a lot more numbers.
Yeah, well, 58. I was born in 52, so we're up
Yeah.
there kind of together.
Yeah.
Not kind of together. What we saw, what we've seen growing up has been just phenomenal.
It has. It
And
really has.
and that was another thing that grabbed me about you is your age and your wisdom of what you've done. So you were raised in a small manufacturing town
That's right.
around a GE plant. What did they make at this plant?
They did a lot of naval ordnance.
Oh,
They had
really?
underground facilities, and they produced plastics. This is where a lot of the plastics started coming from. It was the largest GE in the world and the second one built. So the whole town was built around it, which was really neat because I grew up with indoor plumbing and all that. I didn't know outhouses. We were talking about this the other day with my wife, and then when I moved in the South, I saw a whole different world, and that was when I was 18.
So you moved south. Where in the South did you
I
move at 18?
first went to Texas, Houston, Texas. Spent about a year there, and
And you were
then
18.
I was 18 years old.
Okay.
Yeah,
What took you to Texas? Because I
to
just
get
curious.
work,
Just labor, work.
and that was
You were
during
chasing money, opportunity.
right. I turned 18. Everybody around town was wondering where they were going to get work. It was during the Carter years. Massachusetts was essentially in a depression, and
And that was the result of another bail, take everything across the water.
yeah,
Am I right?
yeah, and the
I might be
GE's
wrong,
the
but
GE was starting to shut down to get smaller on purpose because of lawsuits and all kinds of junk from the past, and so the town was shrinking. It was about 55,000 when I left, and a few years later, it was about 50,000, and it stayed there for 30 some odd years before they grew again. So all of my friends all moved away. Uh, with Facebook now, one of those things that has come around since. Then you start searching for everybody, and I find they're all over the country, and they all did the same thing. They went different places for work, maybe through a relative, or in my case, I just grabbed a tent. I was going to go down and live on the beach until I found a job, and that's what I did.
What'd you find,
Uh,
if you don't mind me asking?
Oil pipe factory.
Okay, you went to the oil way.
Yeah, where they
Okay.
were in this factory, they tested pipes. They threaded them and tested them, sent them out to the wells.
So you at 18, I didn't know this. You just went the blue collar route.
Hmm.
You just said, I'm gonna go work with my hands and my mind.
I knew at that point that's what I wanted. Yeah, the mind thing came later because that came mostly through life experience and reading. Finding books that interested me, and I've always been interested in the reality, the facts, and that's what I've always sought. And that's, of course, started really uh, changing how I think.
Do you have any siblings?
6 of them,
Wow. So your
older brother
mom,
and
dad,
sister, and
manufacturing background, blue collar,
Mhm.
basically,
Yeah.
in a small town in a manufacturing city. That's interesting. Thanks for sharing. Because that's what was.
Yes, it definitely is what was. The whole
And
Northeast has gone through that transformation.
yeah, now here we are today, halfway. We need to be at least halfway back to where we were.
Hmm.
And that's even, it'd be great to have manufacturing back, period.
Right.
Because, well, it will come back according to what we're hearing and seeing and possibly.
And that would be good. Very good for a lot of people.
It would.
And for our country in general, because the manufacturing produces the basic things that we need uh, for everyday life. And when they're being made somewhere else, you are subject to whether or not they get it to you. That's a
Absolutely.
big difference.
No,
Yeah.
I agree.
Hmm.
Well, I believe in self sustainability. You know, we all carry great gifts of creation and imagination,
Hmm.
and it's been taken away from us. And that's not a joke, that's a reality that I see in everyday men that once were boys and raised without tools and
Hmm.
critical thinking skills. Not their fault, but it goes right back to what we're talking about.
Hmm.
They eliminated that. They did.
Yeah. Well,
And when
even
they did that, they also took the tools away from schools. And for whatever, well, I can sit here and I don't want to get off on a real big tangent, but why not go there a little bit? It's back when education turned into a business and it had to profit.
hmm
And then education has become a cash cow. And, and that's that seems to be the big problem, the way I see it. But what do I know? It's all turning into money. And when you chase money, it never works out because then greed comes in there.
right.
The real human being comes out, and people squandering direct money here, direct money there. I've seen it for years because I paid attention.
Mm.
Where in the world is all the money going? Okay, well, here we are. Here we are.
Just flying away. Yeah.
So, in college became a cash cow, and then they directed our propaganda machine called TV, mainstream TV, made everybody believe. Now, if I'm wrong, please correct me, please. I'm not in for a big argument where we fuss at each other, but are you paying attention? You know, and college became status quo. Not
Right.
what you're going to do, not finding purpose, not serving. Go make money and be successful.
Get a degree.
Get a degree, and that's
Hmm.
the key. No, it's not. No, it's not. But yet they used it, and here we are. And now people can't read a tape measure.
Hmm.
They can't even, this is the sad one that I haven't even focused on yet. They can't even read.
Hmm.
Much less, if you can't read well, you can't speak well.
That's right.
And the most important thing we do every day is communicate. But yet, some of our students don't do it well because they can't read. This is a new one on me. I have to admit it's new. Now, how do I know all this?
Oh, you've watched it happen.
I go talk to kids in the schools.
Oh, yeah.
I address the kids. I teach the kids. I communicate with the kids. They tell you everything. And if that interests you, reach out. I certainly could use some help because we have opportunities. For example, this summer, we're going to hold a summer camp over at the Toolbox. What's the Toolbox? It's a warehouse, 4,000 square feet. And there's a lot to be done, and I'm going to just all transparency here. Get your input on it, Michael. See what you think. 4 to 6 weeks, 4 days a week, 4 to 6 hours a day. I'm not too sure of it all, but I'm going to get a schedule, and I'll even talk more about it. Starts the second week of July. We're going to make a makerspace out of it. Makerspace, what's that mean? Well, it means we're going to make kids a better life through interaction, levels of leadership. Come in there and make that toolbox a learning lab. A little bit of electrical, a little bit of plumbing, drywall, cooking, cleaning, washing clothes. Again, and creating a space where they're learning, and they're going to help create that space together with me and several other adults. And we're going to teach these kids teamwork, leadership skills, basic safety, OSHA 10. Just teach them about life. We're going to have some automotive in there, maybe change some struts or some shocks on an automobile. Teach them cooking, cook their lunch right there in the place. We've got cooking facilities. We're not going to have curriculum. We're going to have learning. We're going to have experiencing.
Like mm-hmm.
We're going to have interacting with kids. And I warn you, I got a big mouth. Sometimes it sounds offensive. I hate that. I really do. But we all need that. It's called tough love. But anyway, we're going to have it. We're working in conjunction, in partnership with Men of Destiny, and we're going to make this happen. And I'm looking forward to it because I get to learn more about kids, learn more about the problems, the issues, but only to help with it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Not out to criticize or blame or punish, just teach. So anyway, now I bring that up because I need to. We need support. If you think that's a good idea, but we want to do an outreach and create this amongst the community, if that makes any sense. So that's puttoolsinschools.org. That's the summer camp we're putting on with Men of Destiny. And we need some help, need men to step up, men. And our whole objective is to make these young adults, girls and boys, more responsible, more fearless, more apt to go out and really embrace life for what it is and not eliminate the fear and develop the creation and imagination within their own brains. Speaking to Michael Kelly here, okay, it relates, doesn't it?
It sure does, yeah.
It relates to you, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Very much so.
And I felt like it did because you got right out of high school and you said, I'm the heck with college. I'm going to go work with my hands.
Mm-hmm.
And let's find out. We're going to come back from the break and we'll find out his story because we already got a good foundation. He wanted to work with his hands. Here he is doing pressure washing, taught by the best. I think Tom did a great job teaching, didn't he?
Yeah, and he had 45 years under his belt doing pressure washing.
And believe me, pressure washing is not for everyone. I'm leery of picking up a pressure washer.
It's not as easy as it looks.
Oh, come on. Really. Go to YouTube University. It'll teach you real quick.
Yeah. Then you have to go out and do it.
You have to go out and mess up a garage door or two or blow some siding off a house once or twice.
Right.
People do it all the time. I said, let me get me a 6-pack of adult beverage and come out and watch. That's entertainment value right there.
Yeah.
All right, come on back. You're listening to About Your House on Fox Sports Charlotte. Download the free app. Stream it live on the browser, foxsportsradiocharlotte.com, YouTube Live, Facebook Live, if technology works. And I got a story about technology for everybody. How captive we are. Trust me, when it goes out, you go out. We'll talk about it.
More about the show? Go to our Facebook page, About Your House Radio. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor.
Mike Libretto here, inviting you to come in and experience Charlotte's best New York pizza and great Italian food at Libretto's Pizzeria. Serving Charlotte proudly since 2008, Libretto's pizzas are sure to please by the slice or grab a whole pie. Pastas, entrees, great appetizers, sandwiches, and wings. A menu to please the whole family. Dine in or takeout, available 7 days a week. Visit us online at librettospizzeria.com or call us at 704-714-1442. That's Libretto's Pizzeria. Stop in and become part of the family.
Go outside and take a look at your home. Are the gutters doing their job? The number one enemy to your home is water. Most homes are built with small, inadequate gutters and small downspouts. ABS Insulating has a division of the company that does nothing but gutter services. All gutter services: cleaning, maintaining, repair, new downspouts, replacement, and new gutters with many types available. They're a leader when it comes to gutter protection. Call ABS Insulating today, 704-821-4343 or absinsulating.com.
Carolina Foundation Solutions is a family-owned and operated company and a licensed general contractor in North and South Carolina, providing foundation solutions from the mountains to the sandy shores of the coast. At Carolina Foundation Solutions, our objective is to help educate, offer guidance, and provide assistance. With over 200 years of combined experience, our family of experts are ready to help protect and repair your largest investments. If you have a problem, we have a solution. Call 877-883-4626 or online, carolinafoundationsolutions.com.
Owens Chimney Systems is known for all professional chimney services since 1989, including chimney cleaning, recommended annually, chimney evaluations and inspections, any and all chimney repairs and restorations, gas fireplace and gas fire log service, furnace cleaning, cleaning out one of the most overlooked appliances in the home. Get it done right the first time. That's Owens Chimney Systems at 704-554-9595. Or you can visit us online at owenschimneysystems.com.
Have a comment or question for the show? Call us 704-227-8986. That's 704-227-8986. Now, back to the show.
All right, welcome back. Finding all this good stuff, gets good content, but I can't talk about it. No, Michael Kelly brought his wife, Linda, in, and she didn't want to be on microphone, and I respect that. Although she tells me she's got 3 kids. How many grandkids? 7, and how many greats? 13 great grandkids. Wow. And you get to have all that in one place at one time. From time to time, like reunions, Christmas, special events. Birthday every month. God, I imagine so. Wow, that's awesome. I love big families. I married into a bunch of big families along the way. Big ones. And it was so beautiful. I love reunions. That's a man. So I always love. I grew up in big family where we'd have family reunions and what have you. I'm sorry to get off on a little sidetrack there, but that's what's joyful. Big family.
Yeah, I grew up in a big family too, and I have fond memories of that.
Yeah, you had 6 siblings.
Yeah,
6 siblings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and y'all families are man, but that's kind of gone by. Where families blow up at? You know, I find that are they all local around here? Are they all still? That's awesome. All right, Uncle Red's on the phone. Let's talk to him. Good morning, sir, big guy. What's up?
Well, I'm just sitting here on a hill watching a couple of projects, up here close to where I live. And I'm not going to take but a second, but I'm going to tell you something.
That's impossible.
No.
Yeah, it is. Let's argue a little bit. You cannot talk and tell something in a couple seconds. Not possible. But we love you. You're a bundle and a plethora of knowledge and information. And to top it all off, you got a lot of wisdom. So keep talking.
Well, these 2 projects are side by side. We won't say what they are.
Oh, why not? You can't give me half the story.
Okay. One of them's a Chick-fil-A and one of them's a Wendy's.
Okay, and got it. Well, that says a lot right there.
And they're both on fast track. They're both fast track because I know what fast track looks like, and I go by them 2 or 3 times a day. These cats are out here, and we're not picking nationalities or anything. There's about half of them are probably from here and half of them from somewhere else, but everybody was here earlier when I went down and ate breakfast, and I just turned back around and came back up because it was drizzling. And I said, as fast as that schedule's going, they will work this day. They got a swing pump set up. They got one truck backed up just like you do that starts the grout through the pipe. And they got the other truck just drove up down there because, once you start, you don't stop.
That's right.
You got to keep the creek coming. And they're the most organized bunch of people. I saw them put their plastic down. They got rough in for the plumbing. They even got it. They're even so smart. They were laying stuff down out in front to keep the stuff dry where they're going to move it and put concrete on top of it because they don't care. It's quit raining. And I'm just thinking, there's people that's working, and I bet you money that there ain't a soul over there making less than $20 an hour or more.
Oh, no, probably not. You're probably dead on. Yeah.
No, I'm dead on it.
Yeah.
I mean, I do it. And I talk to my adopted son, and he works people on massive stuff, but his work is work. But these cats are out here just like it's a perfect day. To them, it is a perfect day because it's still cool. But just amazes me. There's people that will work.
Oh,
and there's a 320 cat sitting over here digging on the other end. It's still moving dirt. He's moving dirt around. It's amazing.
What's amazing to me, and we're talking about the summer camp at the Toolbox. I talked to a lady from Blythe Industry, and Blythe is ginormous.
And Blythe was in business, Ray, when I was about 6 or 8 years old.
Oh, I know. We grew up with Blythe in Charlotte.
That's right.
Blythe built I-77, 277, the road expansions, bridges, infrastructure. Golly, but they've got a learning facility they just built. You ought to come down and see it one day. We're going to do a field trip. Go see Blythe. They've got simulators in there, all kinds. And they teach, they're going to develop an apprenticeship program and training program, actually. I don't like this word apprenticeship. It's being overused and being used to kids don't even know what the word apprenticeship means. And
I'm going to tell you, I'm going to throw something in there since you said that. I worked as an apprentice when I first started with Grinnell. Grinnell, one of the biggest piping people in the world. But anyway, I was in an apprentice program. Now it worked fine for me. You know, you're young, you're big, you're tough.
Oh, it works.
There's a lot of guys that were fitters, that were sprinkler fitters, and they made a good bit more money. But it actually paid me pretty good money at the time, and I didn't have a problem with it. I'll tell you where the union it came. You know, the union formed it, but it got in trouble when the people that got older didn't want to quit working, and they couldn't move. You couldn't move your apprentices up. You couldn't bring them up and to the big money because the other guys didn't want to quit. And so it kind of backfired.
Of course, that ain't the problem today, as we all know.
No, I understand that, but that's what happened, and that's what got the union in trouble, and that's the reason. There's union contractors. I got a real good friend that owns a company, and they use all union labor.
Oh, golly, Rosadin, you know, Electric, and good Lord, I mean, you got a lot of unions out there, IBEW.
Well, there's a bunch of them in Charlotte, but they always normally work for these big corporations that want nothing but union people.
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. But let me tell you what happened back about 30 years ago. All the union companies formed non-union companies because they were missing too many of the jobs. They were more competitive using non-union labor, but that's not the problem now. Just having the people's the problem now.
Having people who kids don't even know the pathways are there. That's the sad part because they pushed them into college. And I've proven that.
Right here.
What's that?
These cats right here are making money. I'll guarantee you they are all making money, and they are working every day. This is a Saturday, and they're out here because they're on a schedule, and there ain't nobody out there waving their arms or anything. They are working. You know what I mean? So
gotcha. Well, all righty, big guy.
But I want to hear about the pressure washing because I got a really good friend up here who's really good at it. And I'm just curious what your guy's going to say because I think a lot of my guy too. So,
well, I'm sure your guy's good. That's not taking anything away from all pressure washers. There's some great.
I think your guy's going to tell me the same thing my guy taught me. He knows all the chemicals. He knows what to use and what not to use, and he does a really good job everywhere he goes. And when he gets done, you can't even tell he's been there except everything's nice and clean. And that's the kind of way
Michael?
It sure does. Yes, it does.
Do what?
I asked Michael, familiar? I said, that sound familiar, Michael? And Michael said, it sure did. Yeah.
It does. And I mean, and he's a really nice guy. And what y'all said earlier, just before I went on, about it ain't for everybody because it's work. They ain't figured a way to make it robotic. Somebody's got to get out there and do it. And, there's some tricks and some devices that help you, but somebody's got to go do the work. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And he makes a lot of money doing it too. He has commercial accounts and stuff. So
part of the
y'all, I'm gonna get off. I want to listen and see what y'all are talking about. But I just thought you'd be interested. These guys are out here making money.
There you go. But it's not all about making money. And I've got to say this. Because I hear you and you're old school and you're going to make the money, but you also.
I'm just old.
No, you're not. You're young.
I'm older than you are.
Well, yes, you are, sir. You got 5 years on me.
Yeah.
And they're good years too. But my point, back to what we're saying, the sense of accomplishment, an empowerment and freedom you have with using your hands and your mind at the end of a day. And those guys you're talking about step back tomorrow, showing up, and there's the whole parking lot done, and they all did it together. There's a teamwork, a sense of camaraderie, and you build leaders out of working like this because somebody's leading that bunch. And unfortunately, we don't have enough of those anymore. But the accomplishment, the sense of empowerment and freedom you get from a job well done, and then you get paid. And that to me, the pay is all a bonus. And if you work, the harder you work, honestly, the more you'll get paid. And the reason you're going to work hard is because you enjoy doing the hard work.
Well, I'll tell you something else too. The demand for really good people and you beat on this all the time, but I'll just put a check mark with it. The trick is if you want to make more money, you just work some more because they'll let you work. I used to work on one job and then move my crew to another job on the weekend because they needed us so badly. And everybody'd say, let's go make the money. Duh. Now, was it the right way of thinking? Maybe yes and maybe no. But we sure made a lot of money along the way. You know what I mean?
But you had, and here's what exists today, people. The opportunities are abundant.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, what doesn't make sense in all this? I mean, what's your problem? Oh,
I can't figure out why people don't want to go out and do it. If they ever got their hands on it and started, they would find out that you can make a nice paycheck. You get some benefits. Like the good HVAC people, they give you a 401k, they give you about 2 weeks of holiday, they give you a truck to drive around in, and they give you a little bit of overtime if you want it. You can make good money. All you got to do is hook up with a good company.
Or become self-employed and own your own company.
Well, that's what usually spins off because some of the really good ones will do it for a while, learn all the little tricks, you know.
Yeah.
And then they'll buy them a truck, get their license, and then they're working for themselves. And you know plenty of them, and I know plenty of them.
And some of them make it, some of them don't. But regardless,
that all comes back to their desire to get up and go.
Yep.
I mean,
the opportunities are limitless.
If you're wired to get up and go, that was the biggest transition I had when I opened a well pump company that time, was I had to wait on people to wake up in the morning so I could go start the day. But I came home at night, and at 9 o'clock at night, if I had a call to go to, I'd go then because I learned very quickly. But I was wired that way because I was old school. I knew that if I didn't go take care of it, there'd be 2 or 3 the next morning. Now they start backing up. So we just go out. We get all of them we could. I didn't care if we was out till 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning. It made people happy.
The same thing.
When people don't have any water, they are happy to see you.
But you know, Red,
yeah,
you work in servitude with purpose.
That's right.
And we've got to teach that. That's what the kids aren't getting.
But I'm going to say this, and then I am going to quit because I'm doing what you said I'd probably do. I came up through school where I wasn't fascinated with woodworking, but I always took shop. I took agriculture because they had a welding program. I told you about that. And the man that was running the program in high school could not weld, but we had all the equipment and all the booths and all the safety stuff. And I told him, I said, I can teach everybody in our class how to weld because I was welding when I was like 13 years old. He said, well, why don't you teach them welding? And I taught everybody how to weld. But there's no.
Hold on. I got to stop. Hush. Minute. I got a question for you. Did you teach them with a stick welder? A little Lincoln Buzz box?
Well, there wasn't any wire welders or
that's why I'm asking the question. Because that's all there was back then, right?
That's what you had. That's what everybody started with. But the trick was we had nice equipment in booths in a shop. And he didn't know how to weld. He was a great teacher, wonderful teacher. But I said, I'll teach everybody how to weld. And everybody loved it because they all lived out in the country. They lived at farms.
Everybody loves to weld. That welds. Yeah. There's a sense of that it's just there you go. You feel empowered. You feel free. You feel I can build something. Oh, is this? It's accomplishment. Self-esteem.
It drives you.
You remember what I told you? I told you when I started, and then I became certified the first time. I mean, X-ray certified, and it got me about $2 more an hour. I was working for the same people, but now I could weld.
Now you got a certification of love and purpose and they give you more money, and then shortly thereafter, you even got more money.
Oh yeah, you keep jumping up and jumping up and jumping up. But I just don't know how you get them to believe. And you're good at it because you sure do pound that damn hammer. But
I don't know.
If it ever gets started,
My head's sore.
you realize it's nice to take that check to the bank. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, when you find your purpose in servitude, the money comes. I promise. And that's what you just said.
Well, I'll tell you.
I just said it in a different way.
I'm not tooting my own horn, but I'll tell you something. I got roped in. I didn't get roped in. I wanted to go do it. I went to Virginia in the 70s. I had plenty of work down here, but I went up there because I knew the guy that was a project manager on part of the job. And I went up there with a friend of mine from Charlotte. And we were working in a nitroglycerin TNT plant.
Whoa.
And no, hey, it's okay. It's just pipe. We went up there and we got paid 40 hours a week. They gave us a brand new truck to drive back and forth and bought the gas. And they gave us a place to live up there and paid all our expenses. And when I would go to the bank and I was just single, when I went to the bank on Friday to cash the check, my take-home pay in 70s was $1,248 a week. Now you do the math.
Mm. And that was in the 70s.
In about 75, that was $1,248 because the lady at the bank said, "Why do you do that work? My husband works over in that plant for the chemical company." And I said, "How much money's on that check?" "That's how much I'm taking home." She said, "Oh my God, I never thought about it that way." For 40 hours of work.
I'm telling you. And that was then. And you can do the same thing now. And welding.
I don't even want to do the math now. But she asked me, "Why do you do that? Why do you go out there?" I said, "It's just pipe. It's the same pipe." You know,
Sure.
We were using all the safety, everything safety we could do because of the way we were working. But that's a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, well, I'm going to listen. I want to hear about this pressure washing stuff because I'm not a big fan of pressure washing. You know, I could do a spot 10 to 10 or something if I was feeling good. But I'd rather call somebody that really knows what they're doing.
Me too.
And if most people would really think it through, they'll call somebody that's a pro because he's going to come out and make it look like new money. And you're going to do it and think you're going to do it. And you're going to get tired. And you don't have the equipment and you don't use the right stuff. And then you're going to look at what you did and you're going to think, "I wish I'd have called somebody."
That's true. All right, man. Go make it a great weekend.
I know it's true.
Oh, it is true. Or you done blowed the siding off the house or blowed a panel out of a garage door or
got water all up through something.
Yeah, exactly.
Or gnawed the wood on if you got some kind of panel and you chewed all the pulp out of it because you didn't have the right nozzle. You know, there's a million things, but I'm going to have fun listening to your guy talk about it because I'm sure he's going to cover all that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, sir.
In that box, when you buy that pressure washer, it don't tell you nothing about it.
That's right. All right, man. Be careful. Thank you for calling.
Yeah, y'all take care. I'll
care.
see you guys.
Okie dokie.
Bye-bye.
And that's our story of the day, but don't be surprised if we don't hear from him again. And that's okay. He's always a plethora of information. One of the smartest men I've ever met. You know, like you say, like you just said, he started when he was 13. You know, and that's what Smith, you know, to play off that, I'm up against the clock on the break here, but that's what's missing. These kids. And then they say, well, you can't start work till you're 18. What's with that?
Mm-hmm.
What's with that? I mean,
That's
it's like you're putting up a fence in front of them to learn. We got to change that. Mm-hmm. Kids need to start learning at 13. Middle school. They need to be exposed. I'm not saying you have to go that route, but we sure ought to give them the opportunity. You know, if they don't, and how do I know that? Because they don't know. Mm-hmm. They don't know. You know, all you got to do is ask them. Now, some kids do. Fortunately, they've got parents who are in the trades and know, and you can pick them out. They're real obvious, but they're few and far between, relatively speaking. Got a problem. Come back. We're talking to Michael Kelly, the Grime fighter, pressure washing. Although we just talked to Uncle Red, we might talk to him again. Who knows? You might hear anything on the show about your house, 8 to 11 a.m. every Saturday morning. Today, we're talking pressure washing. Next week, we're going to talk about GoFlexi.com, GoFlexi.com, job opportunities for kids coming out of school, grade school, I don't care. You want a part-time job, a summer job, GoFlexi.com. We'll talk more about that as well. Come back right here to About Your House, heard on Fox Sports Charlotte. Download the free app, stream it live on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, About Your House radio page. We'll be back.
Out more about the show? Go to our Facebook page, About Your House Radio. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor.
There's big news in the Carolinas. Queen City Audio, Video, and Appliances is now Queen City Home Store. For over 70 years, we've been your trusted retailer for appliances, electronics, and more. Now, we're taking it to the next level with a new name, a fresh look, and more ways to serve you. Offering the same outstanding service you've always counted on, while bringing you everything you need for your home. Queen City Home Store. Same great service, more possibilities. Visit us at queencityonline.com.
John DeLand here for Crowntown Cannabis. We at Crowntown Cannabis care about you and your health. All of our products, from edibles to topical creams, are all third-party tested for purity and quality. 4 locations, open 7 days a week to help you with any concerns you may have. Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Sundays, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. You can call us at 704-412-7121 or online at crowntowncannabis.com.
The professionals at Kilo Exterminating Company have over 70 years of experience in pest control. Throughout the years, they always pride themselves on maintaining the highest standard of quality and customer service, with every technician being state certified. And moisture readings are standard with every inspection. Their top priority is ensuring your home is free from pests such as ants, mosquitoes, termites, and any other pests wreaking havoc on your home. That's Kilo Exterminating at 704-333-9855 or online, kilo.biz. That's 704-333-9855.
Hi, I'm Sam Attero of AteroMedia.com, and I love empowering my clients and partners to make the most out of today's latest digital media tools. We specialize in building production systems and podcast studios for small to mid-sized churches and local businesses here in Charlotte. Do you need new media production gear? Do you need help learning how to use it? You're in great hands with our family business, Attero Media of Charlotte. That's ETTARO Media.com.
Have a comment or question for the show? Call us 704-227-8986. That's 704-227-8986. Now, back to the show.
All right, welcome back to About Your House. 704-227-8986 is the number if you want to blend in and meld and have beautiful conversation with us. Or if you have a question, whatever. Or you can text me if you like, which someone just sent me a message. But you can text me if you like. 704-712-4644. I got to tell a story. We'll get to the pressure washing maybe today, but we'll talk. Anyway. Thursday afternoon over the toolbox, which I'll be talking about a lot because it's going to be my life this summer. So guess what? This is going to be called the Toolbox Show. No, maybe, who knows? Great entertainment value. And on that note, well, where was I going? Okay, we got a podcast studio over there, and eventually we'll do this show from that studio. And we're going to teach kids, the kids that want to learn about digital media, and media in general, and podcasting and broadcasting. And and they will learn. They can learn. Now, not all kids want to learn that stuff, but some do. Matter of fact, it's real popular. They won't do gaming and YouTuber or whatever,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's a new career pathway. Okay. Content. Anyway, we have a studio over there, so we did our first inaugural. It wasn't inaugural; that's yearly. Okay, we did our first podcast, and the internet started acting up. We couldn't go live. We wanted to go live on YouTube or Facebook, for the heck of it, just a practice kind of thing, Wouldn't connect, and then my router started going kaput. It just started blinking crazy and doing weird things, and then my internet went away. And now that was at 1:00 in the afternoon. We started. Wow, it was probably 1:30 we got going. And then my internet went out. And folks, I'm going to tell you something. Once again, and I talk about this probably once a year. Are you ready if the internet went out? Are you ready if the power goes off? Because the power goes off, your internet goes off. And when you're without internet, I venture to say, If the internet went down, people be killing themselves within the first 6 hours. Because they couldn't handle it. The way people are on their phones and everything else, and they lost their power, people would go absolutely berserk. Because it crippled me Thursday afternoon because I didn't have any internet, but I had work to do. Well, you can't work in my capacity and communicate with people in today's world without internet. And unfortunately, and this is something you need to really think about, how good is your phone without internet? Because you can't text completely, because I couldn't completely. Not in my dwelling. Once I got out and about and in the city, I could. And that's where I could operate. But I'm telling you, if the power goes out, are you ready for that? Because you got no gas, you got no money, unless you got cash in your pocket. That's it. You got no means. And here lately, if something has been able to go wrong, like your credit cards get frauded, if you get my drift, so you have to cancel them, then you got to wait for new technology. Then it doesn't show up in the mail. Then you got to chase that. This type stuff has become abundant in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I even went and got my license renewed. It got lost in the mail. I had to go stand in line again last week and chase my license, and had to pay extra to have it shipped to my P.O. box. But you get my point. It's always something. With technology, we sit there, we're dead without technology, and we're totally captive. I'm just throwing it out there. Totally captive. Like everywhere you go, people got a phone. Everybody got a laptop, got something, technology. And we're totally captive to that internet. And it's controlling who we are, like it or not.
Is.
And I'm not trying to be negative. People all the time now tell me, Ray, you're so negative. No, I'm not. I just speak truth. I speak realistic stuff. And in the famous, I love Sam Atero Media. We're going out together doing some media, videos and stuff around Put Tools in Schools. and opportunities in companies. And we're going to be doing more and more and more of that, because all we want to do is raise the awareness to the opportunities to our youth that they can, instead of maybe going to college, consider going into the trades or automotive or manufacturing or, many, 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 many different things, So anyway, but I was down completely with internet. I got it back yesterday, and I've got to back up to AT&T. Used to, I could not stand AT&T. I mean, because of lack of able to communicate, which I still got one little beef, but I'm going to talk about it now, because I like to put credit where credit is due, right? It's fair. People tend to gripe. Well, I want to compliment AT&T for their new ways of communicating with you in this technologically advanced world we live. Because yesterday, when I got to the toll-free number, now getting to the toll-free number was hard to do. Now, how did I do that? I went to an AT&T store, walked in and said, just out loud, and said, "Help me." I did. I literally walked in the store.
Right.
There was 3 men in there, and I said, "Help me, help me." And they looked up, and one of them said, "I got you. What's up?" And I told him, And so he listened, thank goodness, very attentively, too. Tried to find my account, which we could not find. Here we go again. My app wouldn't work. Nothing would work right. I said, "Oh, God, here we are." I'm telling you, dude, if it's got something to do with technology, it's going to slap me, going to kick me. And here we go. And we couldn't find my account number. Couldn't get online. Anyway, it was a calamity of technological crap, I call it. And I know you folks out there listening experience this stuff. You ever gone through a story like anything like this, Linda? No? How about you, Mike?
Sure, she has. We have just recently.
Oh, I'm
too,
not going
with
to tell you to talk
phones
about it. But anyway,
Yeah.
But so he gave me the toll-free number. Sure enough, I had my router, so I couldn't really use that service because you got to be with it, on site. So I took my router back home. This is a good story, actually. I took my router back home, plugged it in, checked my plugs too, checked them because sometimes the plugs are the problem, and so I called up and I got service, and the lady ran some diagnostics over the computer waves, and by the way, this fiber optic, because to really have a good podcast studio with the speeds and the technology you need fiber optics, and you need a good internet signal. Okay, that's why I got it. Okay. So anyway, she ran diagnostic on it, and she said, "There's a problem, and I'm going to have to send service out there." That was yesterday morning, right? And she said, "I've scheduled you an appointment at May 16th. I said, "Whoa, that's today. Wow." And somebody will be out there by 4:00 this afternoon. I said, "Wow." And then they text me keep me posted all the time. So I commend you, AT&T. I'm so happy. Now, getting to that toll-free number should not have been a big issue. But hey, in today's world, who the heck knows? So now my service tech showed up. Sure enough, it was 3:30. Showed up. Oh, great guy, smart, 22 years. See, I ask everybody their age and how long you've been doing it because I'm into what people love to do. This guy was sharp. I could tell by the way he got out. Well, if you're with AT&T and he's got 22 years at it, he knows what he's doing. He walked in there 5 minutes, and figured out what was wrong with it. 5 minutes. I said, "You're kidding." He said, "Man, you got to plug it in and it clicks." It wasn't plugged in all the way. He said, you got to hear it click. If you don't hear it click, it ain't in there. I said, "You're kidding." And it wasn't into the wall because it clicked. I mean, it slept. Anyway. So there you go. I got internet, 5 minutes. I could have done that. I should have done it. I tried to do it. I thought I did do it. Not. So anyway, but the moral to the story is we're screwed without internet.
Yeah.
Sorry to belabor that point, but And and it made me think about power though, and how people we're so literally addicted to technology. How much it really means. But what's your thoughts on communication in today's world, Michael Kelly? Because you're a businessman and you communicate with people.
People
Can you
they
tell me
like it
what?
when you actually talk with them. That's the biggest thing because everybody text is really good for the small stuff. Allows people to check it. Okay, I can get back in a minute. I'm doing this, and then
Right.
come back and do it. The phone call is what less and less people are doing. There's the actual talking.
The power of dialogue and talking to people is phenomenally successful. It just makes sense. Yesterday, talked to my friend Michelle Luter up in for Connect for Success up in Apex, North Carolina. She's texting me. I picked up the phone, called her. I said, "I'm going to talk to you, girl. I'm not going to text us in a conversation that we need to have." And she said, "Okay." So you're right. It works better. I said, "I'm not going to sit here and text when I can talk." And you answered your phone. Thank you very much. So
And the impact. If you were to use your phone for a week and only use it for phone calls, not look at anything else on it, you would see that right away the difference between how far you're into this technology
oh, I know. Oh, it's
and how much actual interaction you have. You would see it. You'd go nuts.
matter of fact, what's it called? A smartphone. The smart is what really gets us. The phone works fantastically.
It sure does.
That works better than any other facet of the phone. Really does. Nothing like dialogue. That's why I like to talk.
Well, that's what we see the difference because we saw it when you had to go if you wanted to make a phone call, you had to find a phone that was hooked to a wall.
Yep. It
Okay,
works.
you couldn't text somebody, you couldn't yell down the street,
All right,
you know.
all right, let's quit fussing and let's quit fuss. But you're right. Let's quit fussing. We'll come back and hear Michael Kelly's story and talk about pressure washing. 'Tis the season to pressure wash, I think. We'll talk about it. Come back. About your house coming your way. It bothers me enormously.
You awake yet? Grab another cup of coffee and join us for hour 2. Michael Kelly of Grime Fighter Pressure Washing continues telling his story, how he got here, and talking the trades as well. So stick around. You won't want to miss it. About Your House is brought to you in part by PutToolsInSchools.org, connecting students to tools of the trades and raising awareness of the many career pathways. About Your House is also brought to you in part by Queen City Home Store. Queen City Home Store is a family-owned store serving the Carolinas for over 70 years. They're the largest independent appliance retailer in the Carolinas, constantly growing and taking pride in the experience they offer customers with a knowledgeable sales staff, product selection, and lowest price guarantee. So sit back, relax, and enjoy some time with us. And now, here's your host, Ray Terry.
All right, welcome back. Hour number 2. Got Michael Kelly in the house talking. You know, I know from time to time I skip and jump around, about things, but it all ties together. We talk. This show's about your house and how to repair it, and this, that, and the other. Well, there's a big problem now in at least what I'm seeing, that people don't know how to fix stuff anymore. People don't know how to use their mind and use critical thinking. And I try to connect with other people that work with their hands, such as Michael Kelly here. And we were listening, the first hour we talked about you went out went down to Texas, got a job, pipe fitting, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you were there, you said, about a year.
Yes.
What happened? Speak to get a little closer to the mic.
Well, still looking for my purpose. Unlike what we're talking about here, I didn't have people around me to kind of give me purpose and vision. What would you like to do? I knew I wanted to work with my hands. I wasn't interested in the higher learning, but I'm a learner.
You weren't interested in academics.
Academics.
Actually, what you wanted to do was higher learning. There's the problem. They made it a coal pile. You were less than if you weren't academically directed. And that's the case today, when in actuality, it's just another education pathway. And just as beneficial, just as rewarding, if not more so, than the academic pathway. Carry on.
Yeah, and I would say too that there's things that you learn that you might maybe you could have learned it in college, but you're learning it through the application of what you're learning. So you see how it works. And the difference is in that mode, you're also creating, okay? You're inventing. Like they say, necessity is the mother of invention. And so whenever you can transfer from that knowledge into something like that, you're pushing technology forward, you're pushing how things are done forward, uh, and how you do it. That's a common thing. And that's why over the years, I've done jobs that require college education today. And the reason I was able to do that is because I applied what I was learning to all the skills that I was doing.
You did have an education.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the point. You were educated. And that's what society has surpassed in education itself, if that makes a bit of sense.
Mm-hmm.
We become overeducated people. I used a nice word because that's not normally what I say.
Yeah, and what's happening is you're losing the application to life.
But
that's
what
has to happen.
But that's truly the only way we learn is through application.
Mm-hmm.
You can take all the sense in a book you want, but if you don't go out and apply it, you ain't learned nothing. Folks, you can't argue with that. You just can't. And that's the way God made it.
Yeah.
We're creators. We're all creators. Every one of us. But you go to school and they take it away from you.
Yeah.
We need to feed it. We need to feed kids' minds with imagination, creativity, and critical thinking.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, if they can think for themselves, oh no, we can't control them. Therein lies the system.
Mm-hmm.
That is the system. Like it or not, that's the truth behind it all. And that's what we've created. But these kids I don't care if they go into it. I don't care if they use it. But you can't help but use it, can you?
No.
Because that's being resourceful, critical thinking. And, all right, back to your story. You was a pipe fitter and you were looking. Where'd you go from there?
I went to, at this point, I knew I wanted to work on cars by the time I left Texas.
That works.
I enjoyed it because it required me to think about how to fix problems. Why is this happening? When does this happen? And what do I do to fix it? And then another thing I learned pretty early on was, how do I make it so it doesn't come back, this problem, if possible?
Sure. Fix it.
So that's that critical thinking where you have to think not just where you are, but where's this going to be down the road? And then you start applying that to everything, all the trades. And that's where creativity comes in, invention comes in, and things get driven forward.
And you're empowered.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a freedom that you
Mhm.
otherwise will not ever experience.
And you have independence.
There's the freedom,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
Now,
it sure
why
is. They're
don't we
tied
give
together.
that to our kids? Where's it going wrong? You think they're getting it in college? Are you watching and paying attention?
Mm-hmm.
Look, I'm not here to bash anything. I'm just here to confront life as it exists and see it for what it is. Okay, where'd you go? Into automotive.
Into automotive. I started pumping gas and doing little brake jobs at a gas station back when they did that kind of stuff.
Been there, done that.
And then one day through that, I met a guy who owned a dealership. Actually, I met his daughter-in-law, I think it was, and she told me about him and then introduced me to him. And I ended up working for him for about 10 years. And it was all European cars, which was a real treat.
You went into sales or fixing them?
Fixing them.
You're a service department.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah, I loved it. And what it did was prepare me for the changes that were coming in the American market, because they were using computer technology back in the 70s. And that didn't really come into play until the mid 80s here in America. And the systems that they started using were the ones that I was using already. So I had to jump on it. So that was one of those benefits that comes back to you, where that really makes you feel good. Hey, I've got something here. You know, I know a lot more than a lot of these other people. I could teach them. And that's what I started doing. So it led into other things. And that's where I found my teaching gift, being able to convey these simple principles. I also learned there was something really important that applies this whole thing with college or working with your hands, blue collar work, as they call it. And that is, somebody told me one time that you start with the theory. This is how you think it should work, or whatever, part of your critical thinking. And then you make application. The application hammers out the truth. This is what really works. This is just a theory. So, and then the other thing was knowing where to get the information is half the battle. If you know where to get the information that you need, of course, now we have the internet for that. The largest library the world has ever seen is in
Incredible.
everybody's pocket now.
Now you got AI that's even think for you.
Mm-hmm. And then from there, you make your application to what you're doing.
Regardless of where it comes from, you're going to apply it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You have to.
And that's when you really learn the situation.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's where the real learning comes from. So in college, if you're just learning the theory and you don't go out with the idea of applying it some way into some industry, which is the goal, of course, it isn't until that happens that wisdom starts accumulating and the theories turn into reality.
How long did you stay in automotive? 10 years? 12 years?
35 years.
35 years in service work.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
and that doesn't include all the other things that I did. I'm very eclectic when it comes to different trades.
But that's the point. When you learn one, you're learning many, because they're all intertwined with critical thinking and being resourceful with your imagination and your mind. And you can figure things out. And we're all creators. That's my whole beef about it. The whole put tools in schools thing is once you open that little mind and it starts to click, and wow, incredible things happen.
That's true.
And we need to, and that deals with self-confidence. And these kids are fearful, and fear gets in their way. They're afraid of failure. Well, if you're afraid of failure, you're never going to learn anything.
Right. And I was doing things as a child, learning how to make money. I'd gather up golf balls and golf tees and string and whatever it was, and I'd knock on doors to make a little bit of money so that I could go to the ice skating rink or something like that. But all these things accumulate, being part of. And then when I went to school, I had the advantage of being able to take automotive, grounds maintenance, carpentry,
And you learned well in agriculture, you say?
And
Like Uncle Red talked about?
Yeah. All those things are part of it. You know, doing a garden for the old lady down the street when I was 12, 13 years old. Now, when I'm grading with a skid steer, those little things come into play about how you see dirt, how you see the grass, how you see what's under it, how you see the landscape. All of those things come into play.
And now, if we can just give our kids that knowledge and that experience, how do we do that? First of all, get rid of most of the rules in the field, because that in lies. Well, what if? What if? Homie don't do what if.
So sit back, relax.
We're going to get her done. I mean, that's just as simple as it gets. If we got to sit back and play by all the rules, we're never going to get anywhere. Remember, they can't work unless they're 18.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're supposed to have. And don't remember, I mean, the labor law people going to be out there as policing. Like Michael here.
They are. And I learned things in those years that I'm still applying, like automobile, the finish on an automobile. I apply that to several trades that I've done just in the last 20 years. And also in the pressure wash business, understanding those surfaces and how they work and how they react to different chemicals or how they react to the environment. How deep do you have to go to get what you need? I hated standing there with 1,000 grit sandpaper on the car. But what my teacher was trying to teach us, patience.
Wax on, wax off.
Wax on, wax off. There's going to be things, and like in an automobile, that final shine is just scratches that are so fine you can't see them.
Yeah, they're polished to a shine.
I've applied that to restoration in stone. I've applied it to pressure washing and a number of different industries. And I hated doing what I was doing at that time, yet I can't tell you how many times I think back on that car and what it has taught me. So those little things of that make a big difference
behind doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I got it. I understand exactly. And I, like you, and I love listening to you. I'm the same guy. We're just two different people.
Yeah, two different pathways in the same world.
If they had a tool and I heard it, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing? I'm sanding. Well, what do you mean? You know, and you would start asking all these questions. Here, you want to do it? Yeah, let me do it. Or let me do it. And I tell you what, that's what's beautiful about these career days we have. Because if they can interact and engage with the tool, they've never touched them before.
Mm-hmm.
And they light up. Simple drilling a hole, putting a screw in a board. Simple stuff. But yet they've never done it.
Mm-hmm.
Light up. All right, we got to take a break. 704-227-8986. Got any comments? Talking to Michael Kelly. We're going to get wet here before too long. Something's going to get wet. Well, come on back. We'll figure it all out.
The show, go to our Facebook page, About Your House Radio. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor.
Mike Libretto here, owner of Libretto's Pizzeria and Spinello's Pizza. I opened my first pizzeria in New York City in 2004. Not long after that, I took my passion to Charlotte, North Carolina, serving up a taste of New York City with great pizzas and authentic Italian cuisine. Come in, relax, and enjoy Libretto's Pizzeria, located off Johnson Road in the Ballantyne area. Libretto's is also home of the famous Spinello's Pizza, a 10-inch infused frozen pizza, offered in both pepperoni and plain cheese. Visit Spinello'sPizza.com for more information, to find a retailer near you, or just to order for pickup at the restaurant. Libretto's Pizzeria is open 7 days a week, a great place to relax, dine in, take out, delivery, or for catering. Visit us online at Libretto'sPizzeria.com. Call us at 704-714-1442 for the best in New York pizza and Italian cuisine. That's Libretto's Pizzeria. Stop in and become part of the family.
Go outside and take a look at your home. Are the gutters doing their job? The number one enemy to your home is water. Most homes are built with small, inadequate gutters and small downspouts. ABS Insulating has a division of the company that does nothing but gutter services. All gutter services: cleaning, maintaining, repair, new downspouts, replacement, and new gutters with many types available. They're a leader when it comes to gutter protection. Call ABS Insulating today, 704-821-4343 or absinsulating.com.
There's big news in the Carolinas. Queen City Audio, Video, and Appliances is now Queen City Home Store. For over 70 years, we've been your trusted retailer for appliances, electronics, and more. Now, we're taking it to the next level with a new name, a fresh look, and more ways to serve you, offering the same outstanding service you've always counted on, while bringing you everything you need for your home. Queen City Home Store. Same great service, more possibilities. Visit us at queencityonline.com.
The professionals at Kilo Exterminating Company have over 70 years of experience in pest control. Throughout the years, they always pride themselves on maintaining the highest standard of quality and customer service, with every technician being state certified. And moisture readings are standard with every inspection. Their top priority is ensuring your home is free from pests such as ants, mosquitoes, termites, and any other pests wreaking havoc on your home. That's Kilo Exterminating at 704-333-9855 or online, kilo.biz. That's 704-333-9855.
Have a comment or question for the show? Call us 704-227-8986. That's 704-227-8986. Now, back to the show.
All right. I like that song. Thank you. Got Michael Kelly in the house today. We're headed to cleaning your house and your driveway and your gutters and all kinds of groovy things like that. And now that the pollen's over and you should have already had the leaves cleaned out of your gutters, where you're late on that. But anyway, we'll talk about that too, because it gets in his way sometimes. And how do I know that? Because I know people. And I know how they treat their houses. Anyway, you went into automotive and you learned all this stuff in the service, working with your hands and your mind, and the connectivity between it all, right?
Right.
And it really doesn't matter what trade you're in. They're all the same. They're just using different tools.
Right. The critical thinking is applied the same way towards any industry. And that's what makes it blend. You can go from one thing to the next. And that critical thinking you learned in the previous industry or previous industries that you've been involved with transfers to the new stuff.
Absolutely.
And it gives you the basis to be able to think through, how do I do this new thing that I'm involved in? You don't have the experience maybe, but you have the wisdom, that critical thinking that gets you to take the right steps to learn everything you need to know and to do it correctly.
And there's some kids wired to do this very early.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it doesn't matter whether they're a male or female. It doesn't matter. There's some kids that are wired this way. They're just naturally wired to use their hands and critical thinking. Dyslexic people, ADHD folks, and they call it a disorder because it doesn't meet the system. The system's what's broken, not our students. We just need to feed our students what they need in the way of constructive, critical thinking pathways.
That's correct. That's correct.
And we're
I
not
wouldn't be
doing
able to tell you that when I was a little kid, but I can tell you right now that without it, you won't get along in life.
Right. And that's part of what's missing. People are kind of lost. They don't know. But, okay, why'd you get out of automotive?
I got bored with it. I like to, that's why I say I have eclectic interests.
No, I get it.
Anything that I can learn that's new, obviously making sure that I keep some money flowing so that I can live
You
by
got to
it,
make
but
money. Got to
I
make money.
I don't care about getting rich. I care about surviving
Exactly.
comfortably. And, as far as what I do, uh, if it's I have to tell myself more often than not, I probably shouldn't do that. Just because I probably could do that, I probably shouldn't, because there's a limit to how much time you can put to something or how much excellence you can put into something. And you just have to decide where you shouldn't go that far. But as a result of doing this, I've taken the skills from really a lot of them that I learned when I was a teenager. I had an uncle that did remodeling. I would work with him once in a while. So all these different things later on become important pieces to what I'm going to do next. And so that boredom, I actually had an employer ask me one time, "Do you get bored easily?" And I thought that was a negative thing. He was looking for somebody that does, because that kind of person is always looking for more to do or something else to do. And
They're
so,
typically
an em
sponges.
right, so an employer, and that's the kind of person that they're looking for.
Yep.
They want
That's a
somebody.
leader, actually,
Mhm,
because
and
you
like
said you had to teach other people coming up through the ranks in your career pathway, where you
right.
became a teacher, a mentor of
Mhm,
sorts. You
mhm,
know,
because I like taking what I learned and giving it to other people so they can use it.
and part of your gift, whether anybody's told you that or not, but we're recognizing it right now, is you can communicate with your voice.
Yeah.
You're a
I'm
communicator.
a talker.
You're a talker. And I try to, I don't try, I convey that thought to kids all the time because they're not taught to speak.
Mhm,
Believe it or not, because of this stupid phone, social media, all the fear factors, they don't speak up. And the ones that speak up in life typically will go further in life.
mhm.
I don't care what you do. If you can communicate well, you will go further in life.
Yeah, there's aspects of that too that are important in communication.
Absolutely.
Deflection of your voice, how you're looking at somebody, paying attention to facial expressions
Yep.
and things like that. You do that automatically, but we don't realize that's what's going on. So those skills, when you're looking at a phone, communicating with somebody, there's no voice inflection
There's
and
no body
deflection.
language
There's no
going on. Can't
expression.
hear it. No.
It's all assumed on
And
your end what this person is looking like and how they feel and those kinds of things. So without that interaction face to face, there's a very large part of the whole learning curve that's gone. You can learn
couldn't
here,
agree
but
more.
again, it's the same thing. It's just theory. It's just theory until you apply it.
Absolutely. Spot on. Okay. You got out of cars. How'd you get to Tom Skinner and pressure washing?
Oh, that pathway goes through several more career changes. When I got out of cars, I went into remodeling full time. And so I've been doing that all of my life and started honing those skills. And then in remodeling, there's certain things that you do better and some that you don't. And so that steers you again. Well, I should be doing this because I do this well. And what you want to do is bring a service or a product to people that's done well,
Yeah.
something they can be happy with and not worry about all the
Service. Back to service and
good
purpose.
service.
Servitude.
And that face-to-face communication makes all the difference. Who you're talking to in a job, how you're talking to them, you being able to convey simple things to them because they don't understand what's going on inside that wall. I don't need to tell them all that. They might need to understand that it needs to be this way because it has to support all this weight. Maybe something like that.
Right. What'd you like better, cars or remodeling?
I think remodeling is, to me, it was more creative.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah,
I did
it
it
takes a lot of thinking
I
with
did it
cars.
45 years. Yeah, cars. It does, and it's always changing, technology entering, but regardless, remodeling is the artistic form of construction because you take an existing structure and you alter it and you change it, just like painting or creating or molding or melding or welding or whatever. And you use your knowledge in electrical, plumbing, structure, carpentry. I mean, everything.
That's right. And I do all of those things.
I know.
Sometimes people will call me just for a plumbing job, and again, everything that I would do, I just did a whole house plumbing a few months ago, and everything I do in there is tied to things that I've done over the years, and the fundamentals, the basics of those things were all created when I worked with other people and learned things from them and applied those things when I was young. And then you build on that over the years. So the fundamental things like what you're looking at doing here this summer, those little things, like I said, I didn't like sanding that car, but that car has been a model and an example for me my whole life. I've looked back on that car, and pressure washing is the same way. There are things that I did with that car and began to understand and how that finish is done that helped me to understand how this wall should be washed or that wall or that window.
It's all the same, just use different tools.
Just different tools, yeah, and you begin applying the same techniques.
Absolutely. It's all, and I tell people that and look at me, it ain't all the same. Yeah, it is. It's just different tools. And then I tell kids all the time, once you learn plumbing, you'll learn this. You'll learn a little bit of this. And you can't do any of it without learning a little bit of all of it. Like electrical. When the guy started working for me, I asked an open question on the air one day here. Is there anyone out there that wants to learn what I have to teach? Call me. I need a helper. I need somebody to teach. That was kind of a beginning.
That's how I am.
I want somebody to teach. And he said, okay. Well, he said, first thing he said when I met him, I'll be honest and straight up with you. I'm scared to death of electricity. I said, well, that'll be short-lived. I said, because you cannot work and do what I'm doing what you're going to have to do without understanding the principles and the safety measures behind electricity. But once you learn it, you'll never forget it. And it'll always go with you and you'll understand it. Once you understand it and, learn it, like I said, you won't be afraid of it. You'll respect it because definitely it'll kill you. But and you're the same way. You know about that, what I'm talking about, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
You know exactly what I'm talking about. And he did. He learned it. And now he's very comfortable with it. But not only that, plumbing, electrical, a little bit of HVAC, a little bit of carpentry, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Because, you go out and do one thing, you can't rely on necessarily pick up phone, call an electrician. You have to know you have to know how to move that 220, 30 amp receptacle. Because you can't. Now, is that to the letter of the law and the code on inspection? No. But we can't operate that way in the real world. That's a reality, and I don't mind saying it outright. But if you learn to do it correctly and understand the principles behind good work, wanting to do it correctly, you'll do a good job.
You will.
You will.
I had an electrical circuit once that wasn't working. I checked the voltage on it, and I'd never seen this before. So I called my son, who's an electrician. Well, he does mostly installations, so he wasn't quite sure. So I had to go find out myself. And again, I'm tapping into knowledge about things. I did my specialty with automotive in the later years was computer technology.
All right. Well,
so I knew a lot
big.
about electricity, how it moves. It's just different voltages. Some will kill you and some won't.
Sure.
Just knowing those basic things gives you the substance you need to trace down the problem.
Right.
And I was able to do that. So now what happened was whenever I see that, I know exactly what's causing it.
Right.
And even though I don't know what it is yet, I know what's causing it.
But back to one of the original laws of life, it's resourceful thinking and critical thinking that puts you there. So once you learn the pathways into critical thinking, wow,
Yeah.
lights go off, man.
It
And
opens
that
up
opened to
everything.
you real early. That happened to you. All right, now
Mhm.
let's get to pressure washing. You know, you met somewhere along the line, you got into pressure washing. And now I can see with this story how the connectivity occurred,
Mhm.
you know, and then you met Tom Skinner somewhere along the way.
Yeah, he needed his brakes done, and somebody introduced him to me, and we got talking, and to me, pressure washing I wasn't interested in it at all at the time. And, and it was another story to get to that point. But I didn't wanna I liked what I was doing. I was doing a lot of remodeling, some automotive work, and it took a heart attack to make another change in my life. And when I was recovering from that, I got thinking about it. So, I think I
How old
like
were
what
you when
Tom does.
how old were you when you had the heart attack?
Oh,
Do you remember?
Yeah, 60, 59.
59. Okay.
And so I went over, stayed with a friend in Tennessee while I was doing the recovery. And when it occurred to me, I called Tom up and I said, I'm going to come over there and I'm going to be your next guy. I'm going to get me a little house out there in the country with you. And in this country, I don't know about other countries, but if that's what you want to do, you'll do it.
If you
you
put
re-
the energy out there,
if
yes,
you put the
sir.
energy into it, and it's not about taking just the right steps. It's about believing this is where I'm going to go and keep pushing towards
Trusting
that person.
and trusting your faith and your
Mhm.
spirit, it's going to be okay.
Mhm.
And if you're a worker and you're tenacious about your goal setting, it will happen.
Right. And it doesn't take you don't have to get up in the morning and sweat over it, to get your mind. You just need to be steady. Take those small steps. This is what I believe I should be doing. So what would it look like if I was doing it? Well, I might, want to be spending time with Tom. I might want to build some of the equipment myself. And now I have, because of my experience. I built my whole rig.
Oh, you didn't
And
buy Tom's?
no, in fact, he sold them somebody else up in the mountains.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I had my own idea of what I thought would work
Well,
best.
no, I hear you. Once you
and
get
I'm
the
a
experience.
and I'm an efficiency guy. In fact, because of that, without a degree, I was promoted to an operations manager of a $5 million company. And that has to do, again, with what we're talking about. The experience that was developed by those little things that I learned, and then applying them over and over, and the different things that I did got me to this point where suddenly the CEO is looking at it and he's going, I can get more out of you than somebody I'm going to pay $100,000 out of school. And the difference was not that guy he may have known more than me, but it was all theory. He hadn't applied it like I did. So I was automatically doing it. And I took his business and took and almost doubled his volume of output in 3.5 months. And so he said, hey, you know what you're doing. I need to put you at the top so you can make sure that happens everywhere. And then we get to pressure washing. And I started applying the same things and seeing how Tom was doing some things. Everybody has their skills that are the highest level skills, and all these other skills that they don't have to put as much time into. Whereas I wanted to take some of those other ones and apply them, because this is how I was, the greater skills, and make it more efficient, make it work better, make it work quicker, make it last longer, things like that. And that's what I started doing with his business, and that benefited him. So I was an asset to him. And I might have to say, should say at this point, I had told my children,
How many kids you
be
got?
on time.
How many kids?
3 kids.
Okay.
Be on time, be early if you can, on a regular basis, and just work hard, and you'll do better than most people around
Be
you.
the best version of you can be.
Exactly. And they're all successful. Everything they do. My daughter got into restaurant stuff and went right up to manager. Started managing a pretty nice restaurant out in Wilmington. Now she's like me, she's on to something else. So she got into landscaping, and we were talking about it last week, and she's already looking for ways to, well, how do I do this better? How do I make it look better?
Right.
And those things are what make you a better employee.
That's what we need to teach.
Mhm.
Those qualities and integrity of doing a job well are actually what we need to teach. And we don't, unfortunately.
Yeah. The old saying is just a job.
No, and I
If
don't.
it is, you
I
should be doing
personally don't
something
like
else.
that word. I'm going to my job. I don't have a job. People say, "What do you do?" Well, what do you want me to do? You know, and people say, "What do you mean?" Well, you ask the question. I mean, you do everything. Well, I could if I want to, but that's the wisdom. And you're getting to the age where you can say, "I don't really care."
Yeah.
There's a better way of putting it, more blunt, but it's a fact. I do care about everybody, and you do too, because that's what we're talking about, is teaching about doing a job, not necessarily chasing the money, but chasing the rewards of a job
That's
well
right.
done
Right.
and completed. That's the work ethic.
And you should be an asset to the people you're working with or for.
You should have that added value, as they say.
Added value. That's a perfect term there.
Added value, you know. And you're going to get tired and sick and tired of being corporate America typically. That's you did.
Yeah. It gets mundane.
Well, it gets crazy because you play a game and you don't want to play a game. You want to do your job well.
Right. And I did that and it got in the way. The corporate America
Thank
got
you.
absolutely in my way.
And it will, and how do I know this? Because the stories I've heard through the years. Wow. And I had this same discussion with a newfound electrical guy last week at a career day. I said, "How long you been with, this company?" He says, "1.5 years." And I said, "What'd you do prior?" Well, he was in education. And I didn't really have to go into it deep to find out why he left education, because I already knew the answer. He got fed up. That's another discussion. But if you're a teacher and you're working in education, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So anyway, but he's now an electrician and he loves it. He's in the electrical field. Here
That's
he is,
quite a change.
50-something years old, jumped out of one because he got tired of being tired. So he wanted something more rewarding, more purpose-filled. Now he's at a career day working with kids. There you go.
Wow. Yeah.
So, I mean, it happens. And I'm working with a lot of adults that don't necessarily like what you're doing. And when they see something like you did, or you went after it, you got to pick it up and say, man, I kind of like this. I've had young females that came out of college with degrees, play with tools. I kind of like this. Their brain starts working. Maybe I could do this. Ain't no maybe about it, baby. No maybe at all.
And that happened to my daughter too. I just learned recently. She said, "I wish you were grabbing me out into the garage and working on a car too." She has found that she really likes doing that kind of stuff.
It's application of your mind. It's rewarding. It's like a drug, honestly. It's addictive. Once you learn to create and do, like artists, they can't put the brush down. And some people don't even tap into that until they're 50 and 60 years old. And they've had all this talent and creativity, but you didn't go there. You didn't tickle it. And that's what we've got to do with our kids.
Yeah, and you'll find it, like the car example, you'll find, even in your industry, whatever it is, that there's things that you like more. And those things, if you allow yourself to be driven a little bit towards those things, you'll become more of an asset. I did that in automotive. The reason why I moved towards the electrical, I love the fact that you couldn't see electricity. And so you had to know how to find it and what it was doing and everything. And that just thrilled me. And I didn't make as much money because in the automotive, you're paid based on how much work you get done. Okay. And they call that a flat rate hour. That's generally how it works. And you have to take that, what you're learning there, find out what you like doing and push towards that area. And that will help you to like what you're doing more.
Great examples, welding. What kind of welding?
Right, exactly.
In today's world, whoa.
Yeah.
What the opportunities are amazing.
You might like hanging off a bridge welding.
Yeah, you might like welding underwater or a nuclear plant or wherever,
Right.
Man, it's amazing. Anyway, I swear we're going to get wet. we're going to do some pressure washing, I think. Yeah. Come on back. We will get the pressure washer. We're almost there. He done put his rig together. Now he's going to go use it. We'll be back.
More about the show? Go to our Facebook page, About Your House Radio. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor.
Hi, I'm Sam Attero of AtteroMedia.com. Someone asked me once what I loved most about my 30-year-long career as a media producer and educator, and I have to say the fact that not only do I get to create for a living every day, but then I get to teach and help others to use the content and gear systems that I've built for them themselves. You need professional live event video production or streaming services? You're in great hands with our family business. All 5-star Google reviews. That's ETTARO Media.com.
Steve Helms here with the Al Metal Driving Corporation. The Al Metal Driving Corporation is a full-service driving company. Regardless of the problem, we can handle it. Does your clothes dryer take longer than 45 to 50 minutes to dry a load? If so, you need your dryer vent cleaned or checked. The clothes dryer is the most inefficient appliance in the house and should never take longer than 45 to 50 minutes. Call Al Metal Dryer Vent today at 704-846-8368 or online at almetaldryervent.com. That's 704-846-VENT. Have you cleaned your dryer vent lately?
Owens Chimney Systems is known for all professional chimney services since 1989, including chimney cleaning, recommended annually, chimney evaluations and inspections, any and all chimney repairs and restorations, gas fireplace and gas fire log service, furnace cleaning, cleaning out one of the most overlooked appliances in the home. Get it done right the first time. That's Owens Chimney Systems at 704-554-9595. Or you can visit us online at owenschimneysystems.com.
Carolina Foundation Solutions is a family-owned and operated company and a licensed general contractor in North and South Carolina, providing foundation solutions from the mountains to the sandy shores of the coast. At Carolina Foundation Solutions, our objective is to help educate, offer guidance, and provide assistance. With over 200 years of combined experience, our family of experts are ready to help protect and repair your largest investments. If you have a problem, we have a solution. Call 877-883-4626 or online, carolinafoundationsolutions.com.
Have a comment or question for the show? Call us 704-227-8986. That's 704-227-8986. Now, back to the show.
All right, welcome back. Talking to Michael Kelly, the Grime Fighter. Did you keep that name, Grime Fighter?
I did.
I called you that. I didn't even ask you.
I just call myself Grime Fighter too to my suppliers.
Okay,
That's
sure.
also, there's a difference.
Yeah.
When I'm buying stuff.
That's just business.
Yeah.
I don't care about that. I'll call you Grime Fighter. You can be Grime Fighter 3. I don't care. But you're still the Grime Fighter. Put whatever number you want.
It gives Tom some pride too.
Yeah. Well, Tom's a good boy. He's a good man. It really is. He moved, and I didn't even know he moved till I called him. It's been 2 years since I talked to him.
Yeah.
Where's time go, man?
Yeah.
It flies by.
That's when we talked on the couch that day.
Yeah.
2 years ago.
Wow.
At his house.
It was wow. Okay. You met Tom. You got captivated, entrenched, and enthralled with this new pressure washing idea.
Mm-hmm. And I had no idea how much I'd like it, which I love it. But the love comes from not just being out there doing it, but it comes from all that knowledge being pulled together. So when you look at a job, you know what to do, and it's just a good feeling. I know exactly what to do. And then again, I go back to that car. Everything like the dirt on a house. There's different levels of that dirt. If you were to take a microscope and break it down, there's different levels into it. And so it's knowing how far in to go to get that dirt off of there.
And
That's
then
the
again,
key.
you got to know what kind of pressure to put on the
Right,
surface.
and
Like, I'm gonna tell you this, and if you don't know it, you can imagine. But you just did a job recently at a good friend of mine's house.
Mhm.
She called me up. She said, "Ray, I need pressure washing. You know my house, and it's stucco. It's it's real stucco, and it's got and any stucco is going to get mold and mildew on it over time.
Mhm.
I mean, there is no such thing as mildew-proof surface. Okay, let me clear that up right there. There is no surface mildew-proof or fungus-proof. None. If you think that's the case, you buy mildew-proof paint. Welcome to the marketing machine of America. It's a lie. Because if you feed fungus and mold and mildew certain types, they grow because it's a living, breathing organism that loves the water. If it's moist, it's going to grow.
That's correct.
Am I
That's
right or
correct.
wrong?
That's why everybody gets it on their houses. Everything gets it.
There-
Statues, monuments, we clean monuments. It's all the same. The environment keeps dropping stuff on there, and then it grows and grows and grows.
And there's organisms that like bird poop. And then bird poop becomes something else. Why? Because there's organisms on it that like this organism.
Mhm.
And that's just what nature is all about. It's called science,
Mhm.
right?
That's right. Yeah.
And well, a friend of mine, like I said, Ray, I want to get a pressure washer over here. Do you know one? And that's when I called Tom. And I said, and I knew you were looking at taking it over. And then I said, call him. And she did. And then she was the test because she's picky. She's OCD
is.
picky.
Yeah.
She's anal picky. And I know that. I love her for it, you know. But I said, if you can pass her test, you're my man.
Wow. And
But-
I just approach it like every other job. What do we have here? What kind of organisms are growing on this house?
Yeah, yeah.
And how deep do I need to go?
And what kind of pressure too, right?
Yeah, and really, most jobs are not about pressure at all.
That's
about
where we're headed.
understanding
Now
how
we're getting
far
to
you
the
have
meat
to-
of pressure washing.
Yeah, it's about understanding how far into the material you have to go to get this stuff off. And pressure is not your
what
first
chemicals
option.
to use too, if in fact you're
Right.
going to use chemicals.
Sometimes it's just as little as the right amount of water. Okay. And then there's different, like when I was talking to her, I asked her, well, how far do you want to go? Do you want to get rid of this stuff completely? You're going to have to do some resurfacing afterwards. You probably don't want to do that. You want to get it just clean, for now, we can approach it differently. So there's different ways of approaching the job. And then, of course, you have plants all over the place, things growing on the wall that she liked to have. She was out there trimming them when I got
The
there.
ivy and stuff, yeah.
The ivy and stuff, yeah. And you have to know, well, what can I do here that's going to get that wall clean without damaging this stuff? You have to know those things. And again, it goes back to experience, even from other trades.
Did you say you have a question?
Yeah, David Richardson was asking, is Restoration Cleaner the best product to remove red clay stains from bricks in pressure washing?
Restoration Cleaner, is that a specific product? The reason why I ask this is I come from the school of having all these different chemicals, knowing what mixes and what doesn't, and what it does, how fast it does, how deep it goes, all of those kinds of things. There are products that you can buy nowadays where they've got these already mixed together. But then again, you're getting the commercial, this works for this. And sometimes that's not exactly what's going to clean what you're looking for. The chemicals that I use for the red clay are different than what you can buy at the store.
Okay.
So that's where that knowledge comes in, and that's where there's a difference. Pressure washing is not just taking pressure and beating the heck out of the side of your house with it.
Pressure washing has become a big cash cow. Okay. I'm just putting it out there in the marketing world of cleaners. Now I'm a know-it-all, do-it-all, smart guy. And there's a better word for it, but I'm gonna put my name. I'm a man, okay? Call me what you want. But the fact is, I don't pressure wash. Why? Because I don't know what I'm doing totally. Just because and I've seen so many people ruin or halfway do something with pressure washing. And it goes right. Tom taught me that. Tom, along with common sense.
Mm-hmm.
Common sense, it's got 3,500 pounds of pressure. Well, do you know what that'll do? How much damage? And if you don't know, just by putting pressure on something, it doesn't mean you're going to clean it. It means you're going to beat it to death.
Right, right.
And
these products, speaking specifically to this question, I don't know that specific product, but just like in anything else, you have to talk to somebody who knows that product and what it will do. Typically, somebody who's used it. I don't need to use a lot of those products because I have the precursor chemicals that I use to make those products that I need.
Yeah, he said it's sold by Tucker Kirby.
Oh, Tucker Kirby's a good company. You picked a good company to buy it from. If they sold it to you and you had a conversation with them, it'll probably do the job.
That's it, the conversation.
Yep.
You talk with them about what it does, how it does it.
And you can't help but do that when you go to Tucker Kirby because that ain't a big box store. They're full of knowledge and expertise in their field. One of the better construction supply companies in the Charlotte-Mecklenburg area. No question about it. Great reputation, great history around that company. So, yeah, Dave. Yeah, I know David. He's on the board of Put Tools in Schools. But, yeah, I think it would work if you follow label instructions. There again, a lot of people say use more. More isn't always better.
No.
More can be just as harmful as not any at all.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah, it can reverse everything you're doing. You go too far. Typically, and with that company, if you're not sure when you're reading the labels and all, a lot of times they have a phone number you can call and talk to a professional.
They've got data sheets and information sheets on every product they sell at Tucker Kirby.
Mm-hmm.
They know what it does, how it does, and what you need to do to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one advantage to buying there because they're very knowledgeable. You ever buy there?
I haven't yet.
Okay.
I just took their name down. I want to know more about them.
Oh, they're out on Wilkerson Boulevard, and they're a great company.
I actually go to a manufacturer who makes the products for me.
I got you.
So,
well, Tom, looking back, gutter cleaning. There's a lot of gutters, and I know he gave you the secret. I know he did.
Uh-huh.
He could get gutters cleaner than anybody I've ever seen because a lot of gutters will have this black staining that'll come down. Darn near impossible to get off.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no. He knew how to get it off.
Mm-hmm. And I do. Yes. And the same thing is like what you just said. The product takes it off, but if you don't use it right, you'll take the paint right off of it too.
Gotcha.
You can take all those stripes off of there with the right product and the right amount of water.
Gotcha.
Again, and you're not dealing with any pressure. It's all water volume.
I hear you. All water?
Mm-hmm.
Now, you use soft pressure too, don't you? Low pressure.
That's what soft washing is, and 90% of what I do is all soft wash.
So you don't go high pressure. You're soft wash.
Very, very, very seldom. Even when I do use pressure, that requires some knowledge too on concrete or wood or whatever. Typically, people will use the pressure washer they get 2.5 gallons a minute. And so that requires you to have the tip at a certain point. Well, at that certain point, it's where you're going to ruin it in order to use the pressure. So the chemicals allow you to have the right amount of pressure where you're pulling back closer and closer to just using water, a lot of water, and letting the chemicals do the work.
Right.
So you need to know how what to put on and how long to leave it on there.
Well, a lot of people think the pressure is what's cleaning it.
Mm-mm.
No. And you'll be and therefore they jack up the pressure thinking it's going to clean it better when actually you're going to blow the stucco right off the wall.
Right. And that with your friend there that we were doing there, that was the whole key. It was all soft wash, the right chemicals that won't hurt anything, environmentally conscious
safe,
work here, stuff that's not going to go down the sewer and cause problems. There's a lot to think about with all of that.
Got it. All right, we're talking to Michael Kelly and pressure washing. Next hour, we'll hear some stories about some big jobs, challenges. But hey, that's what makes him better. You're listening to About Your House on Fox Sports Charlotte. Download the free app, stream it live. By far the best way to hear it on your little smartphone. Or you can go online, foxsportsradiocharlotte.com, YouTube Live on your interweb there, Facebook Live, YouTube Live on About Your House Radio's page. There you go. And when I pay my bill again, we'll be on SoundCloud again. That's what happens when you get fraud on a credit card. Then you got to update all your bills.
Everything.
Oh, it's always something. We'll be back. More About Your House. It's all about communication.
Hour 3, Michael Kelly of Grime Fighter Pressure Washing continues talking the industry and pressure washing. What do you need to do, how to do it safely, as well as what you need to avoid. So lots of great information coming your way. About Your House is brought to you in part by PutToolsInSchools.org, connecting students to tools of the trades and raising awareness of the many career pathways. About Your House is also brought to you in part by Queen City Home Store. Queen City Home Store is a family-owned store serving the Carolinas for over 70 years. They're the largest independent appliance retailer in the Carolinas, constantly growing and taking pride in the experience they offer customers with a knowledgeable sales staff, product selection, and lowest price guarantee. So sit back, relax, enjoy some time with us. And now, here's your host, Ray Terry.
All right, welcome back. Talking Michael Kelly, pressure washing, and the do's, the don'ts, and the maybes, and the I wills. But how long you been doing it now?
About 7 years.
Seven
About
years.
7 years. Well, yeah. That's when I started apprenticing. That word that you don't like there.
Well, no, I like the word apprentice. I don't mind the word apprenticeship at all. See, that's the problem.
Once upon a time, it was the word. You know, everybody apprentice with somebody.
I got to tell you a story again. You know, and I've probably heard it. I mean, told it 3 or 4 times now, even though it happened last week. I addressed a new group a new ninth grade class, brand new. They had never heard me before over at Queens Grand High School. 80 to 100 kids standing right in front of me. Okay. I said, how many of y'all ever heard me before? I said, you call me Uncle Ray. And I've been in this industry for 55 years, and I got to talk to you a little bit. But if you've never heard me, good. Then I've got some questions. And I'm being videotaped, while I'm talking to these kids. And that's the first question. How many of you know what the trades are? 80 to 100 kids. Let me see your hands. Raise them high. Not one hand went up. How many kids know what the construction trades are? I thought I'd throw a little word in there to help them. Not one child raised their hand. Next question. How many know what the word apprenticeship means? Not one kid raised their hand. Then I asked the question, okay, now fourth and final question I got for you kids. How many of you going to college? All of them raised their hand. I turned around and looked at the camera and I said, there's our problem. Industry, there's our problem. It's that simple. They don't know what they don't know. Now, back to the word apprenticeship. If they don't know what the trades are, don't you think we need to start there?
Good place to start.
Instead of plowing in with the word apprenticeship. Back to education. Oh, you got to go to school and be trained. How about being aware first? How about opening their minds to the possibilities? Am I right or wrong on that?
That's right. That's right.
But if they don't know what the trades are, why in the world are we pushing apprenticeships on them to start with? Now, I granted, but we need to do both. We need to raise the awareness of what that means. And then how can you be trained? You can be the best, spoke to one this week. You can be a great electrician without being a certified apprentice. You can be a great automobile technician, HVAC technician, plumber, drywall finisher, concrete worker, masonry, brick mason, without being an apprentice. You get my point?
Mm-hmm.
Am I making sense?
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, the apprenticeship is available to you, and you, if you're good at it and want to take that pathway in your industry, go for it. Heck yeah, get you more money, and you'll learn that. But you don't have to go there to be the best you can be.
Mm-hmm. And you don't always have to be paid for doing it either.
No.
To get good at it.
No, you don't always have to get, in other words, what are you going after? To be the best you can be or money? Wouldn't hurt to do a little of both. But if you're good at something, that's why I never wanted a contractor's license. I built houses. I did everything I could do around not being a contractor. I knew several others I played off of. I was a certified remodeler, went to school, went to class. We had 12 weeks of study group, and then took an 8-hour exam, passed it. So I was a certified remodeler. So I was certified. But here's another factor. To be certified, what do you have to do? Pay for it every year. So in other words, to be certified, granted, you got to be educated, but then you got to pay to keep it up. Here we go again. Cash
back
cow.
to the. Let me tell you about me going through that. And when I was working on cars, I worked on European cars. Being in America back then, in the 70s and 80s, that was almost like another automotive trade. And there were things that I knew that when I started going to get certified, ASC certified, they would ask me questions about cars I never worked on, American cars. They weren't interested in the European cars. They had and they were asking questions that had to do with how the American cars operate, particular problems they have, and how those problems are fixed. I didn't do well on those tests at all. And when I finally realized that, I started studying some of the stuff that they were doing. It's like, oh, this is the same as this over here. It's just how they're asking the question.
Right.
And then I went and passed all the tests and became a ASC master technician. It didn't mean anything to me because overall, everything that I went through to be able to pass the test, there was very little real application to what I was doing.
Here
It's
we go.
a very different world. And for me to be able to do that required a totally different kind of thinking.
But it didn't stop you for loving what you did.
Right.
Didn't stop you a bit.
And that's why I moved into the electronics. And nobody could teach you anything about electronics back then. How do you fix the problems that they were having when they built the stuff? They didn't have there's some problems when they're building it out and getting it working. But after that, other problems show up, and the mechanics are the ones that got to figure it all out. And I love that. I was driven by that. The things that I didn't know
The
drove me
challenges.
to want to know.
The challenges.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Yep.
And now that's what is missing. How do we challenge? How do we create the critical thinking pathway?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
But now you're pressure washing.
And now I'm pressure washing, and all these things transfer over.
It's the same
attitude
thing.
of going after it. Why does this happen, and how do I fix that particular problem? Some experimenting is required. Let me go back to another trade I was in, and that was the restoration of stone, marble,
Well,
granite.
it's the same thing. It's just different.
It's the same thing. How do you, when you look at something, a countertop, let's say, and you see the condition of it, being able to know how deep that is, because there's 7, 8 different levels of restoration that you can be doing. If you go too deep, you're in trouble. If you don't go deep enough, you're going to do it over. It's the same thing with pressure washing. It's knowing how that stuff adheres, what kind of stuff is it? Is it organics? Is it caused by something else? Things like that are going to determine how you approach it. And again, going back, rarely it has to do with how much pressure you're using. Very rarely.
Gotcha.
The only time pressure comes into play is when you have to determine how much is too much, so that you don't go too deep or too hard.
Right. Or blow the finish off.
Yep. Yeah.
What's the hardest thing you ever washed?
Stains.
What kind?
Stain. They're all critical. Organic stains, brick stains from mortar. And then, of course, there's mud. Mud only comes off certain ways.
Clay.
You can't just wash it
rain
off.
splash.
Yeah, you can't
Mud
just wash it
splash.
off.
I know that. That's brutal. And
Yeah.
boys, they ought to take precautionary measures when they build a house to keep that from happening.
Yeah, and
Man, I would.
all your stains and discolorations on concrete. That's a challenge. Now, when I say it's a challenge, to me, it isn't really now. But learning that, how far do you go? What chemical do you use? And you don't want to destroy it. I've had people, we'd be looking at their driveway and say, yeah, the last guy I had do this, I couldn't see all that stone in the concrete. And when he got done, it looked like they just threw a bunch of rocks in the driveway.
He washed
He washed the surface right off.
He blew the surface off.
Yeah, to get it clean.
He didn't really clean it. He took it away.
Took it away. He used too much pressure.
Yep. And that's the whole reason I want you to talk about
Or
this.
leaving lines. That's a very common thing too. How come I have all these lines after they cleaned this before?
Because they didn't
Well,
know what they were
I'm
doing.
not going to badmouth the other guy.
Well, but
But
the reality
there's a
is
right
they
way
didn't
to clean it.
They didn't do it right.
It wasn't done right. Yeah.
Or you wouldn't see those lines.
That's
I'm
correct.
sorry, but if that's critical, so be it.
Mhm.
It ain't right.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sugarcoat.
And if you're leaving lines, I can tell you you're using too much pressure as well.
Yeah. Do you use one of them circular dudes to clean
Yeah.
concrete?
They call it a surface cleaner. With that, what's critical is the angle and the size of the tips that you're using for how much water is going to come out of there. Again, it's not how much pressure you're putting in, it's how far back do you need to go with less pressure to get it cleaned correctly, because the pressure actually damages. So now, years ago, I took a small pressure washer and I cleaned a house, and it took me all day at a ladder, and it was all pressure. And in the end, a few days later, I could walk up to that thing and feel the dirt on it. And so I didn't really clean it. I took off everything you can see. And when I met Tom, that's when I began to realize the difference. He started introducing me to some of the basic principles of it. And then again, I associated it with all these things that I had learned over the years about surfaces, automotive, concrete, granite, marble, even doing plastic surfaces. They call that corian or solid surface. They call it. Again,
but you don't see it anymore.
No, you don't. And that's the reason why is because it would get all scratched up and dull.
But you could resurface it.
Yes,
I did it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Still do it today. I did a corian. I did a downdraft in a corian kitchen 2 or 3 weeks back.
Mm-hmm.
Saw some corian. It's nice to see it. And what's nice about it, you can cut it like wood. You treat it just like wood.
Right.
And you cut it, mold it, shape it, do anything. People say
even getting the surface all nice and shiny, just like
you
wood.
can shine it just like a jewel.
Right.
Polish it right up.
Yep. Even finishes. I had a built-in cabinet I had done, and the main counterpart of it, the finish that was put on it, how you put that finish on and the steps in between the finishes that make the difference in how that shines in the end.
Right.
It's being able to see the things in your mind that you cannot see with your eye.
Gotcha.
Those are the basics that you build off of.
And all of it's around experience and learning.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And willing to take the time. Like I said, it's not always about money. I've done jobs where I lost money because I would run into a problem and I want to know why that happened and how to get it right. And that might take more time for me and more materials to get to that point where the product is correct. And so sometimes you lose a little bit in order to get there. But the next time when you come into a job, you know right away, this is how to get to that point. And now you can go get it done and make some money.
I hear you. Sounds good. Now, do you have a trailer?
Yes.
So you're tugging your equipment, which is fine because Tom did too.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I was curious.
Mm-hmm.
You got everything on a trailer.
Equipment and chemicals. I have 2 machines. One that's 4.5 gallons a minute and another one 6.5 gallons a minute. So when you compare that to what you buy over at Northern Tool, 2.5 gallons a minute, you're talking about a different amount of water.
Gotcha.
Quite a bit.
Where you buy your stuff, Northern or Harbor Freight?
I get most of stuff through a power wash company that specializes in these products. Now the chemicals I don't, but they do have chemicals. They have their own engineers putting that stuff together. A lot of it's more specific.
More direct industry related.
Yes.
Meaning support.
Mm-hmm.
Much better support that way.
Yeah, like there's some things I do with vinegar. Cleaning with vinegar. Everybody knows about that.
Let's talk about that when we get back. We're up against the clock here. Got to take a break. You're listening to Michael Kelly. And I also want to, when we come back, say thank you to several people who've stepped up and given support to Put Tools in Schools. I wanted to give a mention to that. Certainly appreciate that. We'll tune into that and much more about pressure washing and doing it right. Not all pressure washing is with pressure. We'll talk about it. Come back.
More about the show? Go to our Facebook page, About Your House Radio. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor.
John DeLand here, manager at Crown Town Cannabis, Charlotte's original CBD and hemp resource, where the staff can help you with any questions or concerns. All of our products are third-party tested for purity and quality, oils, edibles, Delta 9, topical creams, vapes, THCA flower, and products to help with the pets. Visit our new South End store at 115 Park Avenue in the South End. All 4 of our Charlotte area stores are open 7 days a week. Check online for the store near you. That's crowntowncannabis.com.
There's big news in the Carolinas. Queen City Audio, Video, and Appliances is now Queen City Home Store. For over 70 years, we've been your trusted retailer for appliances, electronics, and more. Now, we're taking it to the next level with a new name, a fresh look, and more ways to serve you, offering the same outstanding service you've always counted on, while bringing you everything you need for your home. Queen City Home Store. Same great service, more possibilities. Visit us at queencityonline.com.
Hi, I'm Sam Attero of AteroMedia.com, and I love empowering my clients and partners to make the most out of today's latest digital media tools. We specialize in building production systems and podcast studios for small to mid-sized churches and local businesses here in Charlotte. Do you need new media production gear? Do you need help learning how to use it? You're in great hands with our family business, Attero Media of Charlotte. That's ETTARO Media.com.
The professionals at Kilo Exterminating Company have over 70 years of experience in pest control. Throughout the years, they always pride themselves on maintaining the highest standard of quality and customer service, with every technician being state certified. And moisture readings are standard with every inspection. Their top priority is ensuring your home is free from pests such as ants, mosquitoes, termites, and any other pests wreaking havoc on your home. That's Kilo Exterminating at 704-333-9855 or online, kilo.biz. That's 704-333-9855.
Libretto's Pizzeria was established in 2004 in New York City. It's located in Charlotte on John J. Delaney Drive in the Ballantyne area, serving up authentic New York pizzas and a full Italian menu. Come in casual, hang out, and relax. We offer dine-in, takeout. You can order delivery. We could also cater your special event. Libretto's has got you covered. I am Mike Libretto. We are also the home of Spinello's famous infused take and bake pizzas. Visit us online at librettospizzeria.com and spinellospizza.com, or call us at 704-714-1442.
Have a comment or question for the show? Call us 704-227-8986. That's 704-227-8986. Now, back to the show.
All right, welcome back. S&N Communications, I want to big shout out and give a big thank you to their donation in supporting Put Tools in Schools and their partnership with some events they're gonna take place in and around, and we're gonna bring other technology. You know these boring machines you see beside the road with all those that bore under the road, and you know,
drilling. Yeah.
Have you ever wondered how they work and what they do and the technology behind them?
Well, because of what I know, I already understood how they worked. But because of my curiosity, I was doing a job one day. They were drilling across the street, so I went over and talked to the guy.
There you go. You're one of the. Well, see, that right there is, you know, a new technology that they need to train people working in. And somebody's got to not only know how to operate that machine, but they got to fix it when it goes down.
Yep.
There's a whole, well, they're going to be on the show describing it and telling homeowners like you, listeners, what do those machines do? How do they work? What, you know, well, it's predominantly running infrastructure for communications.
Fiber optics.
And that's what they do. And that's what S&N Communications does. And, so, and that's how all this happened, because one question led to another, just like in trades. One thing leads to another, and one thing that leads to another, and you learn and you learn and you learn. Well, S&N Communications reached out and said, how can we support you? And I told them, and it's like everything, it takes money, so, and support. So we're developing a partnership of some support what that entails, we're not sure yet. But we're going to use them and use what they've got for that pathway.
That's awesome.
So another expansion, and thank you. And I want to thank my buddy Damon Barron down at Carolina Urban Wood. We're building, like I said, we're going to have a podcast studio in the toolbox to do podcasts from, teach kids, get them engaged in that pathway, and eventually do this show from that podcast studio. But I wanted a live edge tabletop. You know what that is, right?
I do.
And
pretty popular these days.
Last Saturday, and I got to do a little plug here too. Last Saturday, I had Benjamin Van Hook on the show. He is the executive director or CEO actually of WE Strong. Excuse me, WNCstrong.com, Western North Carolina rebuild.
I've heard of that.
Okay, well he was sitting where you're sitting, and they did a fundraiser last Saturday at Open Tap. Open Tap is a beer tap place down on Carmel Road, and you go in there and you put a bracelet on. It's got a little electronic device on it, and you hold it up to the tap you want, and they sell it to you by the ounce. Okay,
wow.
And you got a bazillion types of beers and brands and shapes, sizes, flavors.
Creepy.
All the you say it's creepy.
Yeah, it's creepy. I think that's a little creepy.
But anyway,
here we are waving a wand to get our beer.
Right, that's what I mean.
I was in the establishment there, the building, and they've got all these natural live edge tabletops, and I knew I thought I knew because Damon's been on the show several times, and I've been down to the store down in Pineville, and not store, their little factory or whatever you want to call it, their woodworking place, Carolina Urban Wood. But I saw these tables, and what they do is they recycle or reuse or use trees cut down in the city of Charlotte, North Carolina. And there were 3 tables there lined up kind of together where people just belly up and drink their beer and enjoy the day. They look similar to walnut, but I knew they weren't walnut. So upon closer inspection, I said, they're poplar. And most people call poplar trash trees.
Wow.
And they were the most beautiful poplar trees you could see. I mean, it looked a lot like walnut. Beautiful. And these tabletops have a QR code on the end of them. And you can dial into that QR code, take a picture, send you to a website, and tell you where that tree grew up, where that tree was in Charlotte.
I like
and and the tabletops over at Open Tap, those 3 particular were poplar off the same tree over on Clement Avenue.
Wow.
Isn't that neat?
That is neat.
And
Yes,
and he kill drives them. He if you want a live edge or wooden mantle, tabletop, conference table, whatever you want, custom furniture, Carolina Urban Woods your place. And I called Damon and told him what I needed for the studio table, the primary studio table. No problem, Ray, I got you covered. So he's gonna, and I said, you can own it, you can lend it to us, you can give it to us, I don't care. But a beautiful table. We're going to have a studio table, and all by Carolina Urban Wood down in Pineville, and I certainly appreciate it. So if you want to support us, please, we need money. Put toolsandschools.org. We need volunteers to get involved with the kids. We need more teachers. I know you teachers out there and industry people are burnt out and don't want to mess with a bunch of kids. I get it, but we got to do it. We got to do it. So anyway, I just want to put a big old shout out to everybody and thank you. Thank you. Takes a village, folks. And we got to feed these kids at the summer camp. We sure could use a summer camp sponsor. We sure could, at least food and beverages sponsored by. So, takes money, but we got to feed these kids every day for 4 to 6 weeks. We need support. Put toolsandschools.org, please. And thank you. So there you go. Michael Kelly in the house today, Grime Fighter. I see got your wife with you today, and I really appreciate that. No, I'm not going to corner you and put a mic in front of you. She don't want to talk, and I respect it. Although it's rare I don't make them, but I can't make her today.
You're growing, Ray. You're growing.
I'm
You're growing. You're not forcing them to do something they don't want to do.
well,
She's. I was say this is the first time ever I've never seen you shove a mic in somebody's
Right.
face that didn't want it.
Yeah, and I did tell her that you were going to be respectful for the fact that she didn't want to get online here. And
no, she's not even on the camera. So see, she's out of frame and everything. So I was very nice.
so you're holding true to your word.
Yes, I am. I'm a man of my word. I am that. You know, it's just sometimes people don't like my words.
That happens the older you get, huh?
Yes,
Gets
sir.
more.
People don't like the truth these days. One more thing I want to say: I'm working with a group of kids, and I've got to tell everybody this because it's a point of discussion. I insisted or asked for a meeting of the minds around what went right and what went wrong this year, and what our partnership with Center 360 is all about. What did we learn? What did I do right? What did we do wrong? And what can I learn from? Guess what the number one complaint with the kids were for Uncle Ray?
Keep your mouth shut.
Too loud. I'm yelling.
How about that?
Well, and to that effect, I've always had a loud voice and a big mouth. But I told them too, I said, okay, I'm going to work on it. I'm going to work on it. But I say this because this is a teaching moment. But I said, but if I sit there in a classroom and you tell these kids and students to do things and they don't do them, and you've told them more than twice, and if you expect me to sit there and tolerate that and not be the man I am, and you want to take the masculine away from me, it ain't going to happen. It's called tough love, and that's part of what's wrong today in our schools. You're coddling these kids. I said, so therefore, if you don't like that, then I'm not the person that needs to be in the room. And they said, nope. In fact, we're not doing our job well enough, or you wouldn't be needed in that way. I said, bingo. Men need to step up and be men. Be leaders. I'm not saying be a loud jerk, but I can be. And I also said that my voice is a tool. And yes, I use it. But it's called communicating. You don't like what I'm saying? Well, then think about what you're doing. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Is that fair?
Yes.
So there you go. But I will work on my voice. Because I get passionate, I get wiry, and I get loud. It's just the nature of the beast.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean it out of anger, sometimes frustration, but when kids need guidance, we need to give it to them. Sometimes it doesn't suit them because they don't know the difference.
Mm-hmm.
But all kids like discipline. It's a fact of love. It's tough love, and that's a reality. But in this day and time, we're not used to it because people don't do it. I do, and I will continue to, but I'll still love you in the process. And that's all I can give. So, end of story. And then I said, now, are we going to do it next year? And they said, absolutely. So therefore, we live, we learn, we grow, and we move forward. All in the name of the kids and the students on making a better life for them.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm going to continue to be me and not change for their well-being. No, not going to do it. So how do they get in touch with Michael Kelly, the Grime Fighter?
Best thing to do is just a call.
I know, but how? What's
face
the
to face? 980-521-0416. And then my backup now is Tom. So they've got two different numbers I can use.
So you can use
333-9274.
And
that's
that
704. 333.
Doesn't it spell something?
It's
It did.
spells wash.
Yeah, I know.
9274 spells wash.
Yeah.
Now that goes back to the old days. See, Grime Fighter was his name. And in the old days, you did that so that you'd be the first one in the phone book because that's the only way they found you.
Right.
You didn't have the internet.
Right.
Okay. So the phone book was your means of communicating to your customers.
Right.
Here I am. This is how you find me. And if you wanted it, you had to have those yellow pages.
Do you have Facebook page? How do you market, in other words? In other words, can you Google a Grime Fighter and get to you?
Yes, you can.
Okay, because see, that's what I wanted people to know.
Mhm.
If they want Michael Kelly. If you want a guy that knows how to pressure wash, and better yet, if you want a guy that knows how to clean, then Grime Fighter's your man. It's not all about pressure. It's about knowing how to clean.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
Right?
It's about knowledge. And where do you get that? You have to learn these things step by step.
Do you clean roofs?
I do.
Now, what do you clean roofs for?
Typically the stains. Most houses you look at them, you can see stains that develop on the roof.
Tom quit that
Mhm.
at one stage.
Yeah, we only do I do only one level roofs.
Single stories.
Yeah.
You only do single story, not two story.
Yeah, just there's several other factors involved in
Of course
getting
there
off
is.
the top ones, and just requires a lot of equipment, safety equipment, and all that to be up on the roof. And
That's why I asked the
it's
question.
very involved.
If you've got a low pitch 3 to 512 pitch roof, single story, that not too many choppies up, it's not too chopped up, that's your man.
Right. Yeah.
I hear you. But you got to be selective. Do you ask people to send you pictures?
I do. We work with pictures a lot. We work with Google a lot, looking at the roof size.
You talking about Google Maps, looking down at
property. Yeah. If we look at the street view, a lot of times get an idea of our approach to the place. Where's it going to be best to park? Run your hoses. Those kinds of things. What kind of obstacles are there that I need to watch out for? That might mean I'm going to bring something different, a different chemical with me because I don't carry everything all the time.
Well, that preparation's most of what you do, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Preparation's everything.
Yeah. Preparations on some jobs is half of your time.
I know. That's why I brought it up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for a true professional, preparing for the job is just as important as the job itself.
Yeah, and it helps your client understand better. Like if they just have a small area they want cleaned, well, I might have to drive an hour to get there, an hour back. I have a half hour setting up, half hour taking down for a job that's going to take me an hour.
Right.
So I'm not saying I'm charging you for all that. What I'm saying is,
well, you do
there's
that.
more involved. Yeah,
but you do.
Yeah, in order for the business to
that's
survive,
because you couldn't do that job
amount of
effectively and efficiently and quality if you didn't do all that stuff.
Right.
It's part of the job.
Mm-hmm.
Like setting up a patch of textured ceiling.
That's where business management comes in.
Exactly.
It's not something you have to learn in school. It's something you have to apply while you're doing it.
You have to learn it the hard way.
All the things that are going to cost you money. Those things have to be compensated for and adjusted for in time and money. And you can't just. I learned that early on when I was doing some remodeling when I was in my 20s. All of a sudden, I'm looking at, well, I didn't make much money on that job. Well, you didn't consider that you had to drive an hour and a half to the job 5 days. You had to, do this, and then the wear and tear on everything and the replacement of equipment or repair of equipment. All those things are part of the whole cost of doing business, and they need to be put in that basket to determine how much your services should be. Then, of course, you've got the competing interests that push against that cost, such as your competition with other people. You have to weigh out that competition. If I'm competing, for instance, with pressure washer that's got a small little pressure washer and he's going to use pressure, to me, it's not competition. But for price,
they're going to blow you out of the water.
That's right. That person's going to spend all day on something that's going to take me an hour. There's a big, big difference. And I'm going to do it right. There's a lot of experience behind it. Tom's been doing it for 45 years. And most people out there, they can't comprehend that much time being put into it. But it makes a difference. He was making the chemicals before they were available at the store. And the ones you get at the store are not as effective. That's just the bottom line. But knowing how to use them, you can still survive out there if you need to clean something. As long as there's people you can talk to that'll tell you about that product and how to properly use it. So it's out there.
How many times do you show up and redo something somebody's already come and cleaned?
Half the time. There's something on a job that was done by somebody that didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, it's very common.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's, maybe less than 10% of the time something was ruined. But, screens,
Well, that
driveways.
job you went to that I recommended to you to,
Mhm.
they came out there and were going to blow the face off the steps, and I told her, I says, if they don't know what they're doing, they're going to blow the stucco right off the wall.
Right, and which they did.
Yep.
They were little pieces. So we pointed them out so that she would know, I know you didn't do that. I know you didn't do this over here. And then we talked about the stains. How far, if we get rid of the stains, stop the stuff growing on there, or we can take it right off and you can come back and repaint. I mean, we could go to those extremes. It depends on what you want to do. So discussing that up front. Typically, nobody wants it ripped off.
Of course not.
But the person is not sure what they're really doing, and they're thinking that pressure is what cleans it. They're going to rip stuff off.
Yeah.
It's just not going to work out.
Yep. Well, that's why I wanted you on the show, see. And I really, really, really appreciate you coming in because you kind of did it on short notice, but it's great. And like I said, it's been a great conversation. Not that we're leaving right now, but I wanted to tell you beforehand about, I remember talking to you and your broad line of experience, your broad experience level in the trades. And you exemplify what can happen once you start using critical thinking in your pathway and using your hands and your mind to serve with purpose. Now I got a question. Do you like doing pressure washing?
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
Now, see, isn't that wonderful to hear somebody say, I love it?
I couldn't have told you that 7 years ago. It was just something that seemed interesting, a new thing for me.
And
But I approach it like everything else. How much can I learn? What things need to be known here? And how do I use it? And always pushing the limits, pushing the envelope, that's what I really enjoy doing. So, and then eventually, just like with everything else, you find out the stuff you really like about it and you focus on that. Sometimes that's something that makes you more money. Sometimes it's just something you get to do more often because you like it.
But you don't chase the money. You chase more of the challenges behind the goals and the task at hand.
And the people will come to you, like they say, you build it and
they
they'll
will come. Yeah.
And they do. And that's what happens.
Once you get good, and this is what I try to convey I don't try it, I do it, convey to kids. When you're the best version of you can be, regardless of what you're doing, you will always figure out a way to make money. Always.
You will attract the money towards you.
Yep, it comes. With greatness, it comes, not with academics. Academics can make a lot of money for you in the educational arena. But outside of that, nope.
Yeah.
And
that's, being able to answer those questions.
Right. Application. We learn through application. And we feel through application.
I got into internet technology because of the same type of thing. I had an automotive shop. I was working on European cars. The business was growing like crazy. After I was told by locals, you're working on cars that people don't drive around here. I said, well, I've checked into it. There's enough to keep me busy. And before long, people would just, because the reputation you build when you work on those cars.
And do them correctly.
And I ended up getting contracts with AutoZone, 2 of the different AutoZones, to do all of their warranty work. That brought in $150,000 a year. And the reason was because I was so good with carburetors. How did that happen?
Experience.
Experience.
Tear them apart. Put them together. Break a few.
Yeah. You have your down days for
Yep.
sure.
Yep. That's them
And
days
you
learn a
overcome
lot.
them with perseverance, and you push through until
Gotcha.
you learn it.
All right, let's take a final break of the show. Come back and wrap it up. More about your house coming up.
Go to our Facebook page, About Your House Radio. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor.
Hi, I'm Sam Otero of AteroMedia.com. Someone asked me once what I love the most about my 30-year-long career as a media producer and educator, and I have to say the fact that not only do I get to create for a living every day, but then I get to teach and help others to use the content and gear systems that I've built for them themselves. You need professional live event video production or streaming services? You're in great hands with our family business. All 5-star Google reviews. That's ETTARO Media.com.
Owens Chimney Systems is known for all professional chimney services since 1989, including chimney cleaning, recommended annually, chimney evaluations and inspections, any and all chimney repairs and restorations, gas fireplace and gas fire log service, furnace cleaning, cleaning out one of the most overlooked appliances in the home. Get it done right the first time. That's Owens Chimney Systems at 704-554-9595. Or you can visit us online at owenschimneysystems.com.
Go outside and take a look at your home. Are the gutters doing their job? The number one enemy to your home is water. Most homes are built with small, inadequate gutters and small downspouts. ABS Insulating has a division of the company that does nothing but gutter services. All gutter services: cleaning, maintaining, repair, new downspouts, replacement, and new gutters with many types available. They're a leader when it comes to gutter protection. Call ABS Insulating today, 704-821-4343 or absinsulating.com.
Steve Helms here with the Al Metal Driving Corporation. The Al Metal Driving Corporation is a full-service driving company. Regardless of the problem, we can handle it. Does your clothes dryer take longer than 45 to 50 minutes to dry a load? If so, you need your dryer vent cleaned or checked. The clothes dryer is the most inefficient appliance in the house and should never take longer than 40 to 50 minutes. Call Al Metal Dryer Vent today at 704-846-8368 or online at almetaldryervent.com. That's 704-846-VENT. Have you cleaned your dryer vent lately?
Have a comment or question for the show? Call us 704-227-8986. That's 704-227-8986. Now, back to the show.
All right, welcome back. Got Michael Kelly, Grime Fighter, in the house today. You know, we talked a lot about a lot of things and very little about pressure washing, relatively speaking. And the moral to the story is it's all the same if you want to be the best you can be.
It's all connected.
And speaking of that, what advice would you give any young person coming out of high school as far as looking ahead? I mean, here you are, 66, you said?
Mm-hmm.
You're 66. What plethora of wisdom can you throw out there because you've got it?
Well, there's a number of things. I think the first thing that comes to my mind is the difference between the formal college education and what you learn out here. One of the things that I've noticed in being in people's houses is that people have the idea that if I go to college, I'll just pay everybody else to do everything that needs to be done. But the wife in the house, the woman in the house is always upset because the man can't do anything. Fixing this or fixing that. And it's common skills that everybody really should have.
Life skills.
Life skills. If you have a house, things are going to happen with the house and you're going to need to take care of them. If you've got a lot of money, you just want to pay somebody else to do it all the time, that's fine.
The check writers.
Yeah.
I love it.
But there's no segue, there's no connection between that education and the realities of life that you have to live every day.
And then try to find somebody to fix something correctly in today's world.
Yeah, and then you have all your other associated problems.
Yeah. And even for the people who really know what they're doing, it's become harder because of all the people that don't know what they're doing.
I met a guy one time. I was doing a plumbing job in Washington, D.C., and the guy there was in his 60s, and he was building cabinets, beautiful cabinets, using a little job site table saw and a skill saw. And I was just amazed. And he told me this story, which I've heard from other people. He said that back in the old days, they used to have one generator running belts that would run shafts, and they would have belts running each of the machines. So the generator went down. They called this guy, and he came and looked at it, spent a few minutes, and he took a hammer and hit the generator, and the generator started up. So then he billed the owner $1,000. You may have heard the story. In our industry, we hear stuff like this. And why am I paying $1,000 for you hit it with a hammer? And he said, well, the hammer I'm only charging you $1 for. $999 is for knowing what to do. Now, being the type of person I am, I know all about these motors and why he was able to do that. And it made complete sense to me. The reason you called me because I know about the motor because I work on them and I've got the experience with them.
Just like the guy yesterday on my internet.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing.
Right.
5 minutes, less than 5.
Right. And all that came from experience, most from the job, but also from all the other things you learned. So going back to that story, it is advantageous for every man and woman to learn as many different kinds of skills. You don't have to spend a lot of time with it. You have to use that critical thinking to understand, how that works.
And eliminate the fear of failing.
That's correct. That's correct. You have to be willing to step over that chasm to learn something. So everything you can learn now is when you're young and you don't have these other competing interests, family, wife, and other things that you have later on. It's a great time to be learning as many different skills or learning about these skills. Something there, anything you learn is going to come later on. You're going to be able to use it. So it's not for naught.
And for all you students in high school out there, school or students, period, I don't care if you're in high school or not, but particularly you kids in high school, you're in a great place in life. This summer, get a part-time job and working with your hands and your mind, and you'll learn more about what you're made of and what you're capable of. And then when you get out of high school, graduate, I'm going to throw a little curve in there. Take a year off. Explore.
I've met people that have done that, and it was beneficial.
Explore. Yeah. Go get you a job here. Go get you a job there. Try this, try that. Because I talk to a lot of kids.
Find out quick what you like and what you don't like too.
Yeah,
Right.
that's where I was going.
Yeah.
And I tell them, I said, find something you love to do and go give it a shot. But then they say, I don't know what I like to do. Well, then why would you go to college? And there's where we've been misleading the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Because don't you want to be educated in what you want to do? Well, they say, well, they'll figure it out in college. Man, that ain't going to happen. It's already been proven. They don't find it in college. They find out what they're told and what bucket they threw you in.
There are school districts around the country now that are establishing these types of programs within their school. And all it is what they used to have many years ago.
Exactly.
Where they give kids the opportunity to learn all these other different skills.
Right.
Like I did when I was in high school.
Yep.
And that set me on a path to quickly find out what it is that I wanted to do.
If I hadn't have been the top drafting student for 2 years in high school, because I love drafting, love drawing.
I did too.
Love drawing. Because see, when you draw something, you literally build it.
That's right.
You
That's
do.
how I do my estimates.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When you draw something in detail, you literally put it together in your mind and you build it in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that gave me a foothold on anything I went into because it's all the same.
Mm-hmm.
If you can draw it, you can build it.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't you agree to that?
Oh, yes.
See, so
Drafting
therefore
was one
my
of my
critical
favorites.
thinking started then. And I was the top student. My teacher made me grade the other kids' papers because he said, you can do that. I said, yeah, but just do it.
Yeah, you're thinking, that's not my job. That's your job.
No, but he wanted me to do that. But he was a great
gave you
teacher.
another skill.
He gave me another skill and so a lot more self-confidence. Yeah, did it boost my ego? Well, you dang right it did.
Mm-hmm.
And it made the other kids in the room mad. You mean Ray's going to grade my paper? Yes, sir. He is. So anyway, but so learning. Bottom line is, if we didn't have the experience or environment conducive to learning that stuff, we wouldn't be where we are, would we?
Mm-hmm. And I could go into other areas about why this happens in America, why so few people. In 1900 in America, we were 6% of the world's population, and we produced over 50% of all the world's goods. Now, how is that? It's that whole genre of what we're talking about. People growing up and learning these different skills and then being released to use those skills and then push the envelopes. The freedom to be able to do that is really important. When you take away that freedom and control or buttonhole somebody into just this one thing, you take away that incentive, that spirit that makes you want to. The reason why we went out west in the early days, to explore, to find out,
find more,
and discover how to do it better, or things like that. So that's what drives that pushes the envelope out. Now, going back to the pressure washing, I'd like to just leave something for people to be able to use out there. We were talking about chemicals.
You got a minute.
Okay. And somebody was asking me about a particular chemical. What's important is that if you have, and we got the camera to be able to take a picture of it, and you're able to, you go to one of these places and talk to somebody who sells these chemicals, they'll tell you how to use it correctly.
Right.
And that's your takeaway here. You're going to be cleaning just like I'm going to be cleaning. You're going to be doing it a little bit different. I can tell you all these kinds of different things isn't going to make any difference until you take it and apply it to your job. So you need to talk to somebody about, here's what I have. How do I get it off of there?
Gotcha. Okay. And Tucker Kirby's a good resource in Charlotte for that. And you can call Michael Kelly, Google Grime Fighter, and I guess you'll come up.
Yep.
I hope so.
And here's my number again. It's 980-521-0416.
And you can always call Ray Terry. I'm easily accessible. My number's all over the place. I'm not hard to get a hold of. And another factor about me is I answer my phone. I do.
That's important.
Yeah, I like answering my phone. If I'm available or beside it, or it's on me. I'm going to either answer it or respond to it. So go make it a great week. Linda, Michael, thank you for coming today. Appreciate you, brother.
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you. It's been fun. Come back next week. Go Flexi in the house. GoFlexi.com. Then I'm going to take a couple weeks off. I'll be out in Seattle traveling cross country. Northern route this time. Montana, South Dakotas, and through all the northern states. Looking forward to it. So go spread some love. Make it a great week. We'll be back here next week with GoFlexi.com and more. See you then.